Welcome everybody to the Omega Metroid podcast. That's right. It's that time of the week where you sit down, maybe you're in the car, maybe you're at home, maybe you're at work, maybe you're at school. It's time for you to listen to some Omega Metroid. We're here to talk about Metroid every single week. Welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast. I am your host again here today, Dak, alongside my man Doom. Doom, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Folks, I hope you're not at school. It's the summer right now. I hope you're all enjoying your summer right now.
That's fair.
At least at least apart from the massive heat wave that's going on right here in the in California. It's been nasty. But that aside, it's been a pretty good week. I've been downloading some more games onto my hard drive, including
Nice.
Last year we were talking about that 007 kind of Xbox Live Arcade leak that came out, because I was pretty disappointed with that recent port that we got. But yeah, I finally downloaded that. I got it running, including the community notes patch, which I had a little bit of trouble getting, but we got it all installed, and man, it is wonderful. I would definitely recommend y'all check that out if you can.
Nice.
Allegedly.
Yeah, nice. No, I remember that. I just got off of a very hard Omega Strikers loss, game 5, set 5, so that was tough. I fell to plat. But I'm here to talk about some Metroid to change things up, and I'm sure everyone is wondering, especially if you're, well, I guess if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching and you're listening, then I guess you might not be wondering. But if you're looking at the video, you might notice we have some tier lists on the video, and that is because today, can we call it a definitive ranking? We're doing a ranking of the Metroid box arts. All of them. All of the Metroid box arts across the regions. We are going to rank them right here, right now, and that's why we have these tier lists up. Can we call it a definitive ranking?
I can't say it's a definitive ranking, because I think what differentiates that is we have a tiebreaker vote for those. A definitive ranking is like one ranking to rule
That
them
we
all.
agree
Right
on,
here,
yeah.
Today we're doing our own individual rankings for this,
Yes.
so I wouldn't quite call this definitive. Even though my opinion is really the only one that matters, we got to go by the rules here.
Well, that's true. We want to keep things fair for the whole Mega Metroid team, myself included. So we are ranking the Metroid box arts. If you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening, we have on screen 2 blank tier lists, and then all of the box arts from the Metroid series across all the regions. So NA, Europe, Japan, PAL, whatever. And
There are a couple. I was gonna say there are a couple of exceptions. We don't have the special edition box arts for Samus Returns and Dread, and I also decided not to include the GBA NES Classic box art, since they're pretty derivative of the original box arts anyways. So
yeah, so technically not every box art, but all the important ones as far as we're concerned. This is something that we've talked about on Twitter, on the Discord, probably I think on the show a few times. Where our tastes on the Mega Metroid team in terms of Metroid box arts are very different. So it might not be a definitive ranking here. Instead, myself and Doom are going to go through all the box arts and then have our individual tier lists ranking all of them. And we're going to see how they pan out. And then you might even be able to go and do your own. In fact, I made this template. If you want to go look it up, it's on tiermaker.com. You look up Metroid box arts, and I literally just made the template. So if y'all want to make your own tier list, feel free to do so.
yeah, we'll have a link in the description too. So if you're listening to this episode right now, click the link in the description and do your tier list and follow along with us in real time.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we have all the box arts in front of us. They're in a random order. We're going to let you know what the box art is. We'll do a little bit of description in case you forgot what it was. And then we're going to rank them. We're going to go back and forth and see where we'd put them. So our tier list starts at the bottom at D at the worst, C, then B, then A, and all the way at the top, the best box arts are the Omega tier. So we're looking for those Omega tier box arts. If you're watching, the tier list on the left underneath my camera is going to be my tier list, and the tier list on the right underneath Doom's camera is going to be his tier list, and I'm going to move them around for him when he just makes a decision. So without further ado, because as I'm looking at this, we have a lot of box arts. I want to say I'm looking at 30 right here, actually.
I think there's more box art than people realize, just because of like all of the region differences. There's a lot of region different box arts.
Yes, in total, I'm counting 30 box arts we're going to rank tonight. You ready for this?
Oh, I've been born ready for this. I've been waiting for this episode, man.
Because there are a couple box arts in here I know we're going to have very different opinions on, and I can't wait to see how they land.
I do think we're going to agree more than disagree, but there's definitely there's one in
particular
particular
to get ranked, and I'm sure some of you might know what that one is. But let's kick things off. So the first one we have here is the North American box art or just the non-Japanese box art for Metroid Fusion. So if you don't remember what that is the Game Boy Advance Metroid Fusion box art cover. It's Samus in her fusion suit, in like a kneeling position with a bunch of enemies, like a space pirate and like a X-zombie and whatever behind her, in kind of like a black void. So that's the first box art we're going to do, Metroid Fusion. NA. Doom, I'm going to throw it to you first. Where do you rank this and why?
This is like textbook definition of mid, and it really sucks because I really love this pose. I really love this artwork of Samus that they used here, but this, and we're gonna see this theme with a few other box arts in this list, but it's kind of an example of just a bunch of assets just kind of thrown together on a stale background and calling it a day. And like it's fine. It conveys the tone of the game. It's obvious, what it's trying to advertise, but in terms of something pleasing to look at, it's not ugly by any means. I mean, there's certainly some artworks in there that fall in that category, but it's not amazing either. This is a perfectly mid C tier box art in my opinion.
C. Well, mid is B. So you think it's...
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have 5 tiers. B's in the middle. Omega, A, B, C, D.
I guess I could consider C mid because I think of like a grading system. But yeah, I'm regardless whether or not mid C whatever. Okay. I'm putting it in C tier.
You're putting it in C. Grade. All right, we're gonna drop Doom's Metroid Fusion into C. I agree with what you said. I think it's definitely and I feel the same way about the next box we're about to do as well. It's very much Samus in a pose with assets in the back against a non-exciting background. I would say I like it because it's the Metroid Fusion box art. Like, I'm nostalgic for that because I love the game. But the actual box art itself, not crazy. I agree that it's mid, but mid as in it's average. So I'd put it at B tier. So it's a B tier for me. All right, so we're already disagreeing.
Yeah. Well, I will say, again, I really like that pose. I think that specific artwork of Samus is cool. It's just the overall box art and the composition that I think could be improved.
I think it's good. Like, for me, like, B is good. A is, like, great. Omega is obviously, like, excellent. And C is, like, and D is, like, not good. That's how I'm looking at it. So, like, for me, like, it's not bad. It's not great. It's good. It's all right. It's average. It's whatever.
D is dislike for me. C is it's fine. B is okay. That's good. A is I really like it, and Omega is like the best of the best.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the next one is for another North American or non-Japanese, non-European box art. It is the Metroid Prime Hunters NA box art. So this one, again, is Samus posing in front with enemies in the back against a void. It's a spatial void. I also always like, by the way, how it has that, like, the globe, like, latitude, longitude lines if you look in the background, which I never really noticed until I just looked at it right now. I've always kind of noticed, like, the space in the back, but it has that, like, globe, like, longitude, latitude kind of lines going in the back. I feel the same way about this one as I felt about the last one. It's not great. It's not good. It gets the job done. I'm not a huge fan of Metroid box arts that just have Samus or characters just in space or in a void to me. But this one is, it's okay. It's good. I'm gonna put it again in B. What about you?
I think this one's tough for me because I feel like this is either a high C or a low B tier for me. Because on one hand, like, I agree, but I also feel like the composition works a lot better because, one, of the coloring, and two, because of the emboss effect that's on the actual cover. You can't really see it on the tier list because it's a PNG image, but on the actual cover, it has this shiny, glistening emboss effect, which looks really nice when you look at it in person. So, I think because of that emboss effect, I'm gonna put that on a low B tier because of that.
All right.
Because again, it's kind of the same effect as Fusion, but it fits the theme more because it's all the hunters there together, and I like kind of the blue and red kind of merging together.
I do like the color composition as well. I love the blue like glow of the hunters in the background, and it contrasts obviously with not only like the space clouds in the back, but also Samus herself in the foreground. At least for me, I'm gonna put it on B tier, but I'm gonna put it in front of the Fusion box art. So like if it was ordered per tier, which I'm gonna do, you don't have to, but I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it ahead of Fusion's, but still in the same tier.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next one. The next box art. We're jumping all the way back to the original Metroid. This is actually okay, this is interesting. Is this a box art? The Metroid North American re-release. I thought it's a pre-release. Okay. So the Metroid North America version of Metroid, the Nestroid, original Metroid, the re-release version of it. So I've actually never seen this. Okay, so it's Samus in her kind of Metroid 2 pose almost, against a yellow, like abstract yellow, red, purple triangle background. It kind of looks like a magazine cover almost, or like a cereal box. It's giving me very much cereal box vibes. The blue,
I can't unsee the cereal box vibes.
It looks like a cereal box to me. The blue, the logo, the Metroid logo is not like a typeface you would see. Like the font is not like classic Metroid, which I'm sure it really hadn't been established, I guess. But it has a little text on the front. It says "The Original" on it for some reason. And yeah, it has very much. Honestly, if you're listening to this, I would look this up. Look up the Metroid NES Metroid North America re-release box art. I've never seen this, and it's very much like a cereal box. I'm gonna put it at. Part of me wants to put it at B because I like that it looks like a cereal box, but I'm gonna put it at C. It's it's not really doing too much for me. It's very much showing its age. It doesn't really look like a box art. It looks like a cereal box or a magazine cover. In a not great way, because I feel the same way about another box art in a good way. I don't hate it, but I don't like it as much as like an average box art like Hunters or Fusions. So I'm gonna put that at I'm gonna put it at C. I'm gonna have to put it at C. What do you think?
For me, I'm literally I already have my list pre-written out here, and it's literally one rung above the Metroid Fusion box art we just talked about. So that's definitely going in C tier as well.
I'll put it in
one
front
thing
of
that
Fusion.
I think is one thing that I think is interesting though that you alluded to earlier is that render of or not the render, the drawing of Samus there. It's based off the Metroid 2 artwork, but they didn't just copy and paste it. They actually retraced a new design over it, but it's that exact same. It's pretty much that exact same pose. I'm sure it was traced over.
Yeah,
which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
cool.
but if you look at the Metroid 2 box art, there's some subtle differences there as well. It's like it fits more. I don't know. It fits more of like the instruction manual art style of Metroid 2 and Super Metroid rather than like that cover art.
Yep, I 100% agree. It's like they kind of redid Metroid, like the original Metroid look with like a mix of like Metroid 2 and Super Metroid almost, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was part of the classic series, which I guess is kind of like the player's choice that Nintendo would do back in the day. Well, not as back in the day as classic series, but back in the day for us. All right, so I put in C for you in front of Fusion, but in C tier. All right, the next one. This one is, can you explain to me so it's the green Other M box art. Can you explain this one to me?
Okay, so this is part of the Japanese box art. So the Japanese box art actually has like a slip cover that goes on top, and the green box art it's a picture of young cadet Samus with a green filter, but then when you put the red slip cover over it, it's Samus's Varia suit, and so the green, it looks like Samus's visor when you put the red slip cover on it. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah, so I feel like we should maybe just rank them together, or at the same time.
Yeah, that's what my thinking was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the green version of Samus, and then you put the slipcover on, and you still see Samus's eyes through the visor in that green, like you said, but with the red, like comic booky, like dotted art. Yeah, I mean, I actually really like this. I think it's nice and simple. I like it way more than the North American box art, I'll tell you that.
I agree.
But yeah, there's something about it. Like Samus looks like fierce, looking right at the camera. I really like the on the, not the red version, but the green, like the under the actual case itself, how like the Metroid Other M title is written. Kind of gives me like Final Fantasy vibes almost, and it has like it's like nice and like white thin lettering. I honestly really like both of these. I'm gonna put them in A. Not gonna lie, I'm throwing them up in A. There's something about them. They're very bold, and like it doesn't feel like generic, like the other Metroid. I don't know. It's like there's something about it, just very in your face. Like I don't know. I really like them, and I really love the slipcover. Looks really cool. Love the design, and then Samus looks like fierce on the inner part. I love the text. I'm putting them in A for me.
You know what? I was gonna do a high B tier, but I think you convinced me. I think I'm gonna put it in A as well because I
Wow.
agree. Despite the fact that I hate the other M various suit design, I love the composition of this cover, and
Yeah.
I like how you mentioned the comic book ink
Hmm.
dot kind of art style that they put on the slipcover,
It's dope.
and I think it contrasts super nice with the actual cover on the back, and and again we're gonna come back to this again. There's another box art where I hate the art style, but I love the composition.
Hmm.
We'll get back to that when we get back to it. But yeah, I really like this. This is one of the sealed games that I'm still trying to get my hands on. I really want a sealed copy of the Japanese Other M case.
I feel like these would be really cool as posters. I really wish that I didn't. I really wish Other M was a good game and I liked it because I would love to. Because I would have a poster of like this cover on my wall, especially like the green version and the slipcover. Like they're really cool. I really love. I even like the Metroid Other M logo. Like I want to like it so bad and it just doesn't let me.
I feel like this would be like a really cool lenticular poster, though. The kinds where you look at it on one angle, but
And
then
it
it
looks,
changes to
yep.
something else. And yeah,
Ooh, that would be so sick.
it would be perfect, right?
Ah, man, if only it was for a different game. All right, moving on. The next cover, we're going all the way back. We're going to the original Metroid NES North American box art. So again, I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of the NES box art, just by virtue of how they're set up, remind me of cereal boxes because they're like rectangular in that way. But this one less so. So if you don't remember what it is, it's a mostly like beige or like light. I don't even know what color that is. Like periwinkle background, and then you have Metroid going across a diagonal and NES. And then you have the old school Samus fighting. She's shooting a couple. I can't even tell what those are, but has the password pack over it.
I
Has
think it's the Zoomers or the Gamers.
yeah, the zoomer's there, and then yeah, the gamer's like in midair. That's why it's throwing me off. um, yeah, and it's like looks like it's like a shot kind of taken from the game itself, but Samus is kind of overlapping, like extending past the screenshot and going into the background, like color. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a great job of describing these box arts. It's a lot harder. I didn't
I
anticipate
mean,
it being difficult.
I mean the North American NES box art is fairly iconic. I want to say in the Nintendo community.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just my small bubble. So
Yeah. I think
I feel
I'm
like
sure. I'm sure many of you know what it looks like, but I'm doing my best to describe them well. Doom, what do you think about this one? Where are you putting it, and why?
so I have a lot of nostalgia for this artwork. That being said, I'm still gonna put this in C tier. I'm gonna put it above. I'm gonna put it above the North American re-release though, just because of that nostalgia factor. I think maybe if I'm being objective, that
Mhm.
North American re-release might be better because it uses actual artwork instead of
Yeah.
these custom sprites. Which actually that's something I should note. So these are not like in-game screenshots. These are custom sprites that
Yeah.
that are actually like different from like the in-game sprites. You'll see this on a lot of like NES sprite box art that was used in North American games, where the sprites on the cover highly differentiate from those in the game. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, there are some alternatives of this artwork. Like there's some artwork. I believe the Metroid Dread Special Edition, it includes this same artwork,
Hmm.
but it's the background is in black instead of gray, and it doesn't have like any of like the logos and the text and whatnot. So
Yeah.
it looks a lot cleaner and nicer. But we're not ranking that. We're ranking the actual box art itself, and so because of all that, I'm still gonna weigh it down in C tier. But
All
at
right.
the top of C tier so far
Top
for
of
me.
C tier. I'm honestly throwing this in D, man. I think this is not a good box art. I don't have any attachment to it, so I'm sorry for you older Metroid fans who might have an attachment to it. Not saying you are, but maybe in general. Maybe Andy, he's listening out there. Um, my biggest thing is that a majority of the box art is blank. Is really my biggest issue with it. The bottom half is essentially blank. I do like how Samus extends past the like game part of it, the not screenshot, and like is extending past it, and I like it kind of like is really zoomed in, but it's too much of the box art is just blank for me, and I wish it had more. I mean, like the bottom half has like the Adventure series logo there, which is so useless and doesn't do anything for it. It has the password pack over it on the left, which like it looks lame. It's not like the cool like remember for N64 box arts, it would have it would peel back and it said only for N64 or whatever. That I always thought was a really cool little corner bug there. But this has the password pack one, which is not fun to look at. Yeah, I think this is pretty weak. I mean, I know it's very dated. Obviously, it's like a 50-year-old box art, but still, I'm putting it at D.
I think that's fair. Again, it's mostly nostalgia for me. I actually have a T-shirt in there that's like that entire NES box art, and it just goes all the way on the front of the shirt.
Yeah, that actually is that's the thing is I want more of the art itself. The art is really cool. It's really good, but it's not enough for me. All right, next we are jumping to a fan favorite Metroid game, everyone's favorite Federation Force. We have the North American cover of Metroid Prime Federation Force, which, as you all I'm sure remember, is again another characters in the foreground, assets in the back, against a space or blank backdrop with the logo above it. So it is very similar to the Metroid Prime Hunters and Metroid Fusion NA box arts. I'm personally going to put it... This box art, the thing to me is that like it's not doing anything wrong. I don't think. It's not really like bad, but I don't know. It's not doing anything for me, and I don't have like a nostalgic cling to it. I don't like the chibi character designs of the characters, but that's like the game. I personally really don't like the Metroid Prime Federation Force like logo, like the back where it has like the Galactic Federation like symbol or whatever. It also has that weird like shine behind it. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm being too picky for it because it's not a bad box art. I'm not sure yet. Where did you put it? Because I'm not sure yet.
Oh, this is in last place for me. I hate this box art.
Okay.
So here's the thing. So here's the thing.
But...
This would otherwise be like a perfectly mid box art, but like again, it's Federation Force, and so it already has that dragging it down, the art style. You mentioned the Federation Force logo as well. I actually like the Federation logo behind it, but it's like you mentioned, it's that pearlescent sheen behind it. And actually the original E3 logo looked a lot better in that regard because it didn't have that. It looked like a standard Federation logo, but this new one, it looks like I don't know, it looks like a temporary tattoo. Like
Yes, it does. It looks like one of those like one of the tattoos you can get on like a fruit roll up you put on your tongue or something.
Yeah. And then the Federation Force font too, I'm not a fan of that as well.
Yeah.
It looks like a Tonka truck type of font, like you're about to play with like some toys or something like that.
I agree. There's way too much going on, I think, at the top. Like with all the different text fonts and the background and the glow and the stars and like it's all over the place. You're putting it in D.
Oh yeah, this is in D tier, absolutely.
Okay. I won't say I hate it because for me the Metroid NES box art, I mean, I don't think this is necessarily like better, but it's more of a box art to me. Whereas the Metroid NES one there's not much going on, like too little going on. I'm gonna put this in C tier, but after the re-release cereal box is for me because I do like that. Like I think that cereal would be cool. So all right, so C tier for me, D tier for you. All right, we are 7 box arts down. Let's go. 23 more to go. We have a classic now. This one should be very easy to rank because it is the Super Metroid box art. It is, of course, the North American non-Japanese Super Metroid box art. I guess there was also the PAL box art too. This is the classic Samus fighting Ridley on the cover, but it is not the Japanese version, which is similar but not the same. But I mean, this is a very recognizable, iconic box art. You all know it. Red's Ridley, Samus kind of like jumping away from him and firing at him. You can kind of see Kraid's claws in the background. You have Super Metroid on the left. You have a really, I mean, honestly, I love the background art of this. It has that like 70s, 80s like fantasy movie look to it. Like the matte paintings used for a backdrop in one of those kinds of movies. Yeah, I mean, this is an iconic box art to me. I'm going to put this in A tier. I think it's great box art. Looks really cool. It's a classic and it has that like 80s, 90s like vibe to it. It looks awesome. And it gets across and it has Ridley on it, which is a major point for me. As far as I know, it's the only box art in the entire series that has Ridley on it, which to me puts it right at the top so far. Yeah, I'm putting it in A before the other one.
It's not the only one that has Ridley. There's a Super Metroid Japan and the Zero Mission has Ridley as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know the Super Metroid version does, but the Zero mission does as well. Let me
Yep.
check. Let me check. Let me
It's
check.
he's very faint.
Oh,
He's
you're
at the
right.
top
You're
of the
right.
cover.
I completely forgot about that. Yes, you're right.
It's very
So
subtle.
Samus like commands so much of the box art on that one that I completely forgot about that. You're right. Okay, there's two. Well, that's also a really good box art, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in A in front of other M. Where are you putting it?
So
And
this
why?
might be my first spicy take of the episode. I'm gonna put this at a very high C tier,
Really?
maybe the top of C tier for me.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
so first off, I really like this artwork, and as you mentioned, the red Ridley is iconic. Absolutely love the artwork of Ridley. The Samus render is cool too. But I guess I'm going to spoil a little bit for the Japanese ranking, but I think it is a better interpretation of this same scene. And so that's why this is so low, because I actually really like what the Japanese artwork does with the same setup.
I agree. I agree. Which is I can't wait to get to that box art. I agree. But really C. You think it's below the Metroid Prime Hunters and other M1s?
I think so. Well, I think another reason why is because that Japanese artwork is so similar as well.
Okay.
And so,
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I'm putting it
you
in
know,
A. You're gonna put it in C.
yeah, maybe we can put it on a low B tier.
Where?
Maybe we can put it on a low B tier.
Where do you want? I don't want to. I'm not trying to influence where you're gonna put it. Where do you want to put it? What do you think?
I think low B is more fair because at the
All
end
right.
of the day, I still do like the art. It's not. I don't think it's bad artwork. I don't think it's just fine. I think it's good. I think it fits B tier. It's just I really like that Japanese artwork a lot more.
My mic is falling. I agree. I like it a lot more too.
Certified Dak moment.
I mean, it's always a problem. I need a new mic arm. Okay, next up, we are going back to the original Metroid. This is the Metroid European PAL box art. So this one is a way better version as far as I'm concerned compared to the North American Metroid box art. This has so again, it has the same problem as the North American version, where a majority of the box art is like a weird light periwinkle color, and then only like a third of it, or maybe closer to half, but is actually Metroid. The rest of it is a blank nothing with text on it. But I love the art. The art is sick. It's not trying to represent like the pixel look of the game like the NA version is. Like you have Samus. It almost reminds me of the recent, what we thought was the Metroid Prime 4 concept art that went on Twitter. It very much reminds me of that. Samus standing in like a long like hallway, like empty hallway. It just reminded me of that. But again, I love the art here. Samus looks awesome. You can even see Samus like somersaulting in front of her. Like there's like a ghost image going across her as she somersaults and runs past herself. You can see like these like weird sci-fi columns going up the hallway, and Samus herself, Samus's suit never looks like that in really any other kind of like depiction of her, really. Like it has a completely unique like chest piece, and her arm cannon's completely different. I really like this. I think I really like this one. I love the depiction of Samus on it. Look this up, everyone, the European version of the original Metroid cover. After all that has been said, I'm going to put it at the bottom of B for me. So that's going to be below Metroid Prime Hunters and Fusion on the same tier, though. So all three of those on B, but it would be above like the box art from the re-release and Federation Force. I kind of like this. I think the reason I put it in B, though, is because the art's really good. But again, a majority of the box art is blank. So I can't put it higher than B. What about you?
100% agree with you. Pretty much everything you said. I'm also putting this in B. This is going between Prime Hunters and Super Metroid for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I really like this art, but like it's kind of the same criticisms I had with the North American art release, or the same criticisms you had, really. Where like the art is so good, but it's like it's so tiny, and it's so
it's not enough of it.
Yeah, and I feel like as ugly as the gray is with the North American art, even though I'm ranking this higher, I feel like it almost complements that better than it does with this, because it's like squared off, and like you don't have the Samus sprite like leaving the painting, so it
you
just
do a little bit.
Very...
You do a little bit. She cross over just a little bit at the top. At the very top, her.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, I see.
But I like that. It's because I don't know. To me, it's like, I mean, I like how she sticks out in both of them. I don't have a gripe on that, but I do like that effect. That's cool. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
overall really good. I just wish it was. I just wish there was a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, we both put it in B. I put it a little actually behind than you did. It's third on my B tier. It's second on yours. So not too bad. All right. Our 10th box art. We're going to jump to our first, well, I guess our second Metroid Prime game. We're going to the Japanese box art for Metroid Prime 2, aka in Japan, Metroid Prime 2 Dark Echoes instead of just Echoes. I'll let you start first. What do you think about this one?
This is my favorite box art of all time. Not my favorite Metroid
Really?
box. This is my favorite
Of all
box art
time?
of
Of all
I
time?
love
That
this
is
box art.
crazy to say. Continue.
I love this box art so much. Actually, you know what? The Doom Eternal Special Edition that might top this actually. But that aside, man, I adore this box art so much. This is an easy Omega tier for me.
Omega. It's the first Omega tier of the night. There we
easy.
go.
Don't even have to think about it. Don't even have to think about it. I love the composition of this, the duality of like the various suit and the dark suit together. I love Echoes, introduces a lot of like these computer almost matrixy elements in its UI, and I love how they incorporate that into the box art, and I feel like it contrasts really nicely. You have this kind of this bluish whitish hue in the background with the more colorful sections up front. The picture that I provided, it's not quite as what's the word I'm looking for when it's bloom when it's like more colorful.
Saturated?
Saturated, yeah. So the actual box art is more saturated than the one that I gave you for the tier list, because that's the only one that I could find. But yeah, God, I love this box art. This is one that I'm absolutely going to acquire someday for sure.
Honestly, I mean, you make a very compelling case. It's definitely not my favorite of all time, but I love it. I love it. It is really, really good. I think for all the same reasons that you said. I really like it. The duality, like you said, is really good. Again, I really love the covers that just Samus is just looking right at you, just menacing, like ready to go. That I love that. It's just honestly, damn. This might be Omega for me too, not gonna lie. It's really good. I think the only thing that's maybe holding me back is I hate the ugly Nintendo GameCube banner at the top. It's really big, rectangular Nintendo GameCube against it, and it just... It's really good though. Man, you made a really good case. I really like it too. At first I was like, damn, best cover of all time. I don't know about that because there's a lot of really good ones, but this is actually really, really good. Damn. And it captures that like 2000s sci-fi-ish. It kind of reminds me of like Armored Core a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's such a unique cover because you don't really see any other Metroid covers like this, but it works so well. It conveys the themes of the games. It's pretty to look at. Like, it has it all.
Damn. I might have to put this in Omega as well. This is a really good one. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm dropping it in Omega. This is an Omega level box art.
The double Omega.
Yes, we got our first double Omega. All right, everybody. We are 10 box arts in. I'm going to give everyone an update on where we are. Since if you're following along, you don't want to scroll back to see what we picked. I'm going to give you a quick update. So, on my tier list so far in the Omega tier, we have the Metroid 2 Japanese, or Metroid Prime 2 Japanese box art. Then we have in A tier the Super Metroid North American box art, and then the Metroid Other M Japanese box arts, so to speak. Then after that, I have in B tier Metroid Prime Hunters North America, Metroid Fusion North America or non-Japan, and then the the European version of Metroid NES. In the C tier, I have the Metroid re-release, NES Metroid re-release. Federation Force follows that. And then the D tier, I have the original NA Metroid box art. Doom, you have, again, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes in a Mega tier. You have the Other M Japanese box arts in A tier by themselves right now. In B tier, you have Hunters NA, you have Metroid Europe, and you have the non-Japanese Super Metroid box art. In C, you have the original Metroid North America, you have the Metroid NES re-release, and then you have Metroid Fusion at the end of C, the North American Metroid Fusion. And at the bottom, you have Metroid Prime Federation Force, the North American version. Next, we have
Sounds
another
good to me.
10. Yes, that sounds good to me. Let's kick it off with our next 10 box arts as we continue through our tier list. And again, if you guys want to check it out, we have the description. The link, we'll have it there. The link will be in the description. You can also go on tier list or tiermaker.com and look it up. And you will find the Metroid box art template. So check it out. Let's continue. Our next box art of the day is the Japanese Metroid Fusion box art. So if you've never seen this before, you are missing out. This is what I consider, I think this is one of the best Metroid box arts as well. This is the Metroid Fusion box art. I love the regular one, the North American one, don't get me wrong, because I'm nostalgic for Metroid Fusion. But this version, you have Samus walking through this destroyed, dilapidated hallway. You have a bunch of creatures crawling after her. They're not just sitting there, not just floating. They're not just posing. They're crawling and creeping around after her, poking through the walls. You have this big, like, blue goo splash where the logo is. I love this one. I'm going to put it in Omega tier as well. This is an easy Omega for me. And I honestly... Now, if I put it over Metroid Prime 2 Dark Echoes or not, that's going to be difficult. I really like both of them, but honestly, I'm going to put this one above Metroid Prime 2 Dark Echoes. I think the art is fantastic. It perfectly captures, I think, the game. Like, you look at this, you know what the game's about. Samus is stuck in some ship or building, and she's getting chased by zombies and goo and crazy enemies, all this stuff. Perfect. I love the Metroid Prime 2 Dark Echoes one, but this one like captures Metroid Fusion, I think, and all encompasses what the game is. That's an Omega tier box art for me. What about you?
So I think it's fine. I'm thinking a C tier. No, I'm kidding. It's Omega tier. Easy Omega tier. Easy Omega tier. This is actually right underneath my Prime 2. So we're just going banger after banger on this one.
Yeah, those are two good ones.
Yeah, pretty much everything you said. I feel like this box art really conveys like the horror kind of 80s slasher flick feel of that Metroid Fusion has, that kind of unique approach that it takes. Again, it's not a more action oriented pose like the North American cover, but again, I think it feels better. You have Samus kind of like with her not her gun at the ready, but like her gun kind of like when you're not trying to fire on someone, but like
it's held up,
but like,
yeah.
But like you can tell she's also very twitchy. It's like it's such a cool little detail. I love the colors, the purples and the yellows that's used in the background. Not only do you have like all the creatures crawling behind her in the distance. You also have like all these destroyed machinery parts. And I also there's this subtle layer of fog that goes over the bottom part of the cover, which I feel like just cranks the atmosphere up to 11 right there. There's also a very subtle difference in the Japanese logo itself. So the North American logo, the Fusion font uses the same font as the Prime font from the Metroid Prime series, but in the Japanese version it has its own unique font, which I actually really like. I think I prefer that to the Prime. You can tell like that's what the logo was made for. And so, I definitely, it's a very subtle change, but I definitely prefer it. But yeah, easy Omega tier. That's going just below that Prime 2 Japanese art. But like, yeah, they're pretty neck and neck for me.
That's actually, I never noticed that the Fusion, the text itself is different, because now I look at it, yeah, they are different. The Metroid, the North American version, it's the same font as the Metroid Prime text, but it has like that bluish gray glow to it, so it's like exactly the same. I actually disagree. I actually like how the Fusion looks the same as the Prime one, but that's because Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion came out at the same time to me. Well, not to me, to everyone. So like that, they had that kind of connection there always, and I think I love that kind of like little subtle connection there.
I agree, but I think you also still get that connection with like the Screw Attack background, which has kind of like the gravity suit design in the back.
That is true.
And then for the Prime, you got the Variasuit background. It
is definitely like a Metroid. It's Metroid Prime-ish logo. Yeah, that's also another good point too. Yeah, I really like that. One of my favorite details about this box art is right at the bottom in the foreground. Samus's foot is like on a rock, and she's like almost stepping forward towards you. It's very much in the foreground, right at the bottom, and I love this because it's like, oh, Samus is like moving forward. She's like not just like posing, she's actively moving forward. And I love that little foreground, like the shading on her foot looks really cool. Yeah, awesome Omega tier box art. Speaking of bangers, unless you disagree, well, it's a banger of a game at least. the Metroid Dread regular edition box art. So I'm sure you're all very familiar with this one. It is Metroid, or not Metroid, it's Samus in the Dread suit, in front of a destroyed sci-fi metallic kind of background, but then also a red sky behind that, and you can see the silhouettes of the Emmys looking over at her with like their red eyes. Samus is again in like a pretty normal Samus pose, and she has the Metroid or the Dread suit on, and then obviously you have the Metroid Dread logo on in the front. Doom, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think about this one?
Dude, it's like we're just going from the top down on my list. This is another Omega tier for me. This is
really
right below this is literally right below my Fusion art ranking.
Okay. Omega
oh my god, I love the Dread, especially the Steelbook without the logo and all that, where it's just the artwork itself. But we're talking about the actual the normal artwork. Yeah, I love the color composition here. I love, I'm a sucker for red and black, so that's probably a big reason why this is an S tier for me.
As you sit in a red and black computer chair with a red and black microphone.
Hold up, with my red and black
computer
gaming PC.
Nice.
But yeah, I absolutely love this artwork. I love how you kind of have the Emmys in the background, just the silhouettes, so you can't see like the actual color. It's just the silhouettes, and you just see the red eye. I'm an absolute sucker for like enemy shadows where you just see like the whites of their eyes or whatnot. So I love how I love Metroid Dread's take on that. The Dreads. I know you like the Dread suit, but it's not one of your personal favorites. The Dread suit for me, specifically this power suit design, is one of my all-time favorite suits. I love this suit design, and it's just pronounced right there at the front. You also have like these. You also have kind of like these yellow sparks like shimmering off.
Like
that makes
fire, like kind of floating in the air almost. Yeah. Like embers, like embers or something.
Yeah, it almost creates like this outline effect to make it that much more pronounced. And yeah, again, you have like this menacing Samus staring right at you pose. She's ready to go. She's ready to get work done. Easy Omega tier for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with what you said. I really like this one. The Dread suit's not my favorite, but I do like it. And this, I mean, I think the biggest part about it is the visor is really, really good. And you have that, like, just looking right at you. Samus is such a good character because, like, when you can't see her eyes, she's menacing. When you can see her eyes, she's menacing. And it's like, again, you get that, like, that something about it. Like, Samus looked like such a badass here, like a killer. It's awesome. I love it. But like Samus can do any pose, and I would feel that. I really like this one because, again, like the Fusion one, it gives you that sense of dread. I love the Emmys looking over at her in the background. Like, you again tells you like that's who you're going to be dealing with. That's like the major theme. I love the Dread font. I love what they did with that, and it's like glitched out and red. It's kind of like spread out. You have little like bits kind of falling off, which goes really well with the embers that are flying in front of Samus. It looks like she's standing next to like a burning fire or like chugging around in the metal. It looks awesome. I love the glow from her suit. Looks so pronounced. Looks great. I love the contrast against the red glow of the Emmy eyes. I love the red background against or with the silhouette in front of it, and you kind of get this like red space, like celestial look to it. This is really, really good. Would I put it in Omega though? Would I put it in Omega?
You did also mention the logo, which I'm a big fan of the Metroid Dread logo as well, because usually the Metroid the Metroid logo, when it comes to the font color, it's usually like a type of gradient or something to make it look three-dimensional. I kind of like this. I feel like I really like the more simplistic design of just like the pure white with kind of these feathered glowing edges, which obviously it's there to represent the Emmy. But yeah, I really like the more simple design of that logo.
Yes, that's now that you point that out to me, I actually don't like it because I didn't even because when I like the Dread part. The Dread part I think is fine, but the Metroid text, I like my Metroid text slanted back a little bit. You know how most of the time it's and I don't really like the flat white. I get why they did it. Now that you point that out to me, I actually really don't like that. For that reason, I'm actually not going to put it in Omega. I'm going to put it behind Super Metroid, but in front of Other M, I think. And I would say that maybe on another day I might put it behind the other M's. I would say it's an A tier list, A tier one. It's really good. I think the better thing, maybe the reason why I put it over the other M ones is, again, it gives you more of like what the game's about. You can see the dread in the box art. That to me I think speaks volumes. So I'm gonna put it in the A tier, below Super Metroid NEU, but above the Metroid Other M Japanese box arts.
That might be one of the worst sales pitches I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, you had me until you brought that out, and I was like, I actually don't like that. I think I really don't. But it never occurred. I don't know. Because all the other parts of the box art draw my eye away from that, and then when I had to focus on it, I'm like, I actually don't like that. Now let's jump into a completely different type of game. We have, going back, the other M box art, the NA and European Metroid Other M box art. So this one is another Metroid box art with Samus and characters in front of space. But I will admit, it's trying to do something with this. It has, first of all, if you don't remember what it is, you have Samus in her power suit looking off into the distance, off to the left or whatever. Then you have younger Samus in her military outfit behind her, and then behind her is Adam looking all the way profile, and even behind that you can see the bottle ship hanging out in space. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I think the Japanese box art is way better, but I will admit they tried to do something here. I kind of like how it has that drawn look to it. It looks like drawn and painted, which always stood out to me. You have the characters look cool. Again, it's just like them in space. One of my biggest gripes about this box art, and always, is the bottom right corner. For whatever reason, Samus's like chest, like half her body just disappears for some reason near the Nintendo logo, which I don't understand why it doesn't just have Samus there entirely. In fact, I don't understand why on the left side her left or right shoulder pad is also becomes space randomly. The bottom art part of the box art is a mess, but I actually don't really dislike it. I actually kind of like it. It's not as good as the Japanese box art, give it that, but I actually don't mind it. I would put it in. I would probably put it in B tier, but at the bottom of B tier. Not the hugest fan of it. I don't think it's bad. I think it's good, but not executed as well as it could have been. And there are some parts of it that just don't really make sense to me. So for that reason, bottom of B, underneath the NES-troid European box art. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a C tier one for me. I'm going to put this between the Metroid NA re-release and the regular North American release.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so both NES Metroids. Okay, C tier.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, so like you said, I like, I like the pitch. I can see the pitch meaning for this, where it's like, hey, you know what, we're going to create, kind of this oil painting,
oil painting is what it looks like. Yes.
almost like a classic Star Wars poster look for this. That's kind of the vibes that I'm getting. Is like a classic, early 70s or late 70s, early 80s, Star Wars.
Definitely has movie-esque to it. How characters are looking off into the distance and how they're stacked. Yes, very movie-like, which makes sense because that's kind of what Other M was trying to be. It was like
basically, yeah. Yeah, and I like it, and there's some elements of the composition I like, but again, there's other elements like, I feel like, I don't necessarily hate, the kind of the cliched, characters appearing more and more in the background, as they become more minor in the story. I don't mind that trope if it's done right, but I don't think this cover really utilizes it that well. They don't really frame them in interesting ways. They just kind of place them on random pieces of the box art. And then, like you also mentioned, for some reason that is beyond me, some parts of Samus' suit are silhouetted.
It would look so much cooler if you saw Samus fully there.
Yeah, and there is artwork. There is artwork where you actually do have the full suit there, and it looks so much better. I don't know why they chose to frame it this way.
Yeah,
but really weird design choice.
Yeah, that really
like much of Other M's design choices.
Yeah. That's the thing is, like, I definitely see what they're going for. I do love the oil painting look to it. Just the execution does not. It's faltering in a bunch of ways. That's a good point about the posing too, because I actually like Samus and Adam. I like how she's posed. I like the profile shot of Adam, but young Samus just kind of seems like slapped in there. She's just there. Yeah, they're way cooler. Like, they should have had the thumbs down. That's what they should. That like, how do you not have Samus doing the thumbs down there? That's a big whiff.
Yeah, she's just photobombing there in the background.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I think it's B for me. You put it in C. I think that's also fair.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is, as far as I'm concerned, I'll just get right to the point, a banger of a box art. It is the Metroid Zero Mission North American and European box arts. I think any Zero Mission art at all is really good. Like Zero Mission's art look like just the official art and concept art for Metroid or for Zero Mission, even the cutscenes in the game. I love the bold outlines and like it's so good. I love how they depicted Samus with like the shadows, the bold, like she even looks menacing in her base power suit. Like she's in her Varia suit at the very least and pretty much everything else, but like base power suit is like something like, oh, it's weak, you move on. This makes it look like she doesn't even need upgrades and she's going to absolutely destroy everything. I love Zero Mission. I love this box art. You have Samus like swiping with her power, like with her arm cannon, like swiping towards the camera. She's like standing on like crushed ground. Almost looks like she's like putting her foot so hard into the ground that she's like cracking the ground itself. She has this really cool like red out like glow around her. You have enemies in the background who are like exploding because Samus just like hit them with a massive shot as she's pulling away from it. You have these Chozo statues in the background, the space. You have Ridley, like this red Ridley, like ghost, like opaque, like transparent almost kind of Ridley.
Well, I think he's purple in the box art to kind of pay homage to like the NES sprite. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a violet to me. Okay, I see what you're saying. He's like, I always thought he was kind of reddish looking. I also, my favorite thing is I love how they incorporated like the space background, but it's not like she's just floating there. She's on the ground. Like it's a scene. There's a scene happening right there. I love
scene. It's a scene taking place at night. It almost feels like.
Yeah, it is. You can. Yeah, I love this. I love this box art. I'm going to put it at the top of Omega. This is
at the top of Omega. Let's go.
This is so far my favorite. I love the game. I love the art style, the composition. Love how the logo shows up. Ridley's on it. Samus looks menacing. There's like it looks like a Samus like comic. Like it looks sick. I love it. Like a graphic novel or manga or something. Like yeah, easy top Omega for me. What about you?
Well, it's not going at the top for me, but this is another easy Omega tier for me. This is going to go right below Metroid Dread for me.
Okay.
Again, pretty much everything that you listed, it's such a, Metroid Zero Mission in and of itself is such a unique take and, with the art direction of that game in general, being heavily influenced by manga as well as Western superhero comics and kind of mashing those two art styles together to kind of create the whole art direction for that game. And I feel like this whole cover looks like a comic book cover, but without all like the logos on the side and whatnot. Like I love the composition, the framing. You mentioned the Chozo statues, which is one of my favorite aspects of this because we don't see that in any other Metroid cover really.
No,
and they're such an important part of the Metroid series. So I think it's really cool to have the Chozo ruins like framed so prominently in this artwork, and it's one of the original new areas in this game too. So it kind of makes sense for that as well. I love Ridley being the center of attention in that Super Metroid art, but I also like this more subtle take that they did in this
ominous
box art,
like
where he's like
over.
ominous, just awaiting in the shadows, which is kind of false advertising because he's one of the easiest bosses in the game. But I digress. We're talking about the art itself, and
he's also not doing that really. He just like, oh, I gotta show up. He pulls up and then you fight him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm late for my meeting.
Yeah, like, oh, time to show up. Yeah, that's my cue. Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, this depiction of Samus, like you mentioned, this is one of my favorite Samus poses with like kind of a precursor to the melee attack almost, because it kind of gives that same kind of vibe where she's just going completely on the offensive here. She's just tearing the whole place up. You absolutely love to see it.
Well, I think I have another banger for you, but I'm actually not sure where you're gonna rank this. I don't think I've ever read or heard your opinion on this, or if you have, I forget. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the best game in the series, Metroid Prime, and it is the Metroid Prime North American and European box art. So this is the classic Samus standing in a hallway, looking right at the camera. You have the Metroid Prime logo in front of it, and the bottom. It's like it looks like a save station actually, is what she's standing in. And you have Samus in the Metroid Prime Varia suit. Doom, what do you think about this one?
So I genuinely have no idea if this is going to be a spicy take or not. I'm gonna put this in B tier. I really like this this artwork right here. I know
in
you.
B tier? Where in B tier?
I know you really like this one. I'm putting it in between Hunters and Other M Japanese art. That's where I'm putting this. But so first off, I really like the artwork. The pose itself, I also like how more subdued it is. I think it's just a little too subdued because I think Samus almost looks a bit too robotic with how straight her arms are at the sides. We'll talk about this later when we get in the remastered artwork, but I think there's some subtle changes that I think elevate that art a little bit higher in my opinion, but we'll get there when we get there. I also but I'm also I'm not a fan of the overall color composition because you have Samus's bright red orange Varia suit, but then you also have this orange hue in the background, which doesn't quite stand out as much, and it's also not quite as faithful as the game too, because the Frigate Orpheon has more of like a turquoise kind of hue to it as well. So overall, it's a really good box art, and I have a ton of nostalgia for it too. I mean, you see this art, it's just like, oh hey, it's the GOAT.
Ow.
But yeah, I'm gonna be a bit more objective with this one. Just if we didn't get the Prime remastered art, I'd probably put it in A. But with that Prime remastered art, I'm gonna be a bit more objective. And we're gonna get it nice and B tier.
Okay, I think that's fair. So top of B tier essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you had other M&A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're totally. I definitely see what you're saying here. Yeah, that's so Omega for me. And maybe I just buy. I mean, I love Metroid Prime. The reason why I'm putting it at the bottom of Omega though, so below the other three that we have there. Aside from the fact that Metroid Prime is my favorite game, and I really love this one. Again, what I really love about Samus is no matter how you kind of put her, looks very menacing, very intimidating. This, I think, is like the most intimidating Samus because she looks so, like you said, robotic, cold, not human. Which I love about this because I know Samus is human, has emotion, and isn't cold, but literally looks like a stone cold killer here. No emotion, no worry at all. That's actually why I kind of don't like in Metroid Prime Remastered's box art how Samus is holding a fist. I don't like that. I like how Samus's palm is open. Not even remotely concerned about anything. Doesn't need to be ready because she's always ready at an instant. Doesn't need to be like holding her fist, which is like, I don't know. Kind of took it down a notch for me. I mean, I love that. I think it's an awesome box art. Very simple. For me, I'm a sucker for Samus just stand there and looking at me. And that does enough for me. But I love just the cold iceness, the roboticness of it. Like, I mean, Samus looks great when she's like doing a pose or doing something, but also just doing nothing. And I think this is like if I walked in this hallway and saw that, I'm like, wow, I'm dead. I'm not surviving this encounter. And I agree with a lot. I mean, Zero Mission, I feel the same way.
Just standing there menacingly.
Exactly. That was a really good impression.
Thank you.
I see what you're saying though. I do. I the orange on orange-ish kind of, but there's something about it. Just like it's like gritty. To me, that I feel like other Metroid box arts don't capture is grittiness. They're very stylized, or they have a bunch of effects, or it's more like leaning into like sci-fi fantasy-ish. This is very grounded to me, more real, more like harder, grittier. And I love Metroid Prime. But aside from the game itself, I really like this. I think there's something about just Samus, just how she's standing. I think it looks really awesome. And I love, even in Metroid Prime Remastered, she almost feels kind of squished. Here she seems a lot taller. So I like this one. I'm putting it in Omega. All right,
I think you bring up some good points there. I'm still putting it in B for me, but like I'm definitely looking at it in a new perspective for sure.
Well, I'm glad you see how I see it. All right, and our last original Metroid NES box art. We have the Japanese Metroid box art for the original Metroid. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you could probably guess what it is. It's this one actually, fairly enough, is more color and Samus than it is a nondescript solid color. There is still a white border around it, which isn't great, and it has like very plain black text on it. But it has some really cool Samus art. Samus is like jumping out once again, but she's not just sticking out. She's like literally jumping out of the frame into like at you almost. She's pointing the arm cannon right at you. I think, I kind of like this one, but there are, again, I hate the white border around it. It's even worse than like the periwinkle. Like it's so plain. I don't know. But I really like how she's jumping out. I love the action shot. I love the logo. I like the little guy on the top left. I don't know who that is. Is that the Famicom man? I don't know. The little dude with the glasses. I don't know who that is. But
the Famicom Discon logo.
Yeah, I knew it was Famicom related. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I don't dislike it. I think it's one of the better original Metroid covers, but I really don't like the white border around it. Just really takes me out of it. It does not look good. Maybe it's actually not one of the better ones for me. I'm actually going to put it in C tier. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm going to put it between the Metroid re-release, the cereal box, and Federation Force. What about you?
Wow, and I thought Hunter's Japan was going to be our big battle. I'm putting this at the top of A tier for me. I love
top
this
of A tier. Wow.
Top of A tier. I love, it's the same thing with the Dread logo. You're not a fan. You're not a fan of that white font. But I don't know. For me, I love kind of that duality of like the white kind of merging into the red, and the piece, and specifically the artwork itself. This is like
artwork is great.
This is such a cool, especially like
yes.
for the era it was in. Like you really didn't see like action-packed, pieces of art like this, and it looks so cool.
I agree.
And especially like of those early Samus designs, I think this is like of my favorite of like that NES era. Mm-hmm. She's. Even though the charge beam hasn't been made yet, she almost looks like she's doing a charge shot while she's, doing that jump there. Yeah, and then even the Japanese logo itself, like, it has depth,
cool.
It has perspective. It's 3D.
Yeah.
And this is the only time that the Metroid logo has had Japanese text. The other ones use English text for theirs. So I think that's also really cool and unique as well. I actually have a piece of art in my my Metroid display closet right there. That I got there because of how much I love this. Mm-hmm. I think you might actually like the GBA art more because that white is a black background instead. Except the red hues is blue, I believe.
Okay, interesting. I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think for me it's just like the art is good, but I don't like it as much as the Metroid European art, and the composition of the Metroid re-release cereal box I think is stronger too. So it has good art, but not as good as the other European one, and the composition is not strong. I think it's very much carried by the art and Samus's pose, but like as a box art, and I do like the logo, but I can't get over the white space. That really takes it out for me. So I'm gonna put it in C, but you're gonna put it in A, above other M, which is very. Yep. I mean, look, I think that's a very fair call. Next, we're jumping over. Speaking of Metroid, maybe we weren't talking about Metroid Prime Hunters, but we're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about the Metroid Prime Hunters First Hunt demo box art. So not Metroid Prime Hunters, not the Japanese version of Metroid Prime Hunters, the First Hunt demo. If you don't remember what this is, it's obviously a DS game. It has, so you see it's Samus's helmet is taking up a majority of it, but in the reflection of her visor, you then see Samus again pointing at herself, which of course makes sense. It's kind of like the multiplayer aspect there. Samus pointing right at the camera through Samus's visor, the other Samus's visor. You have the Metroid Prime Hunters logo in the visor as well to the right, so you can see the reflected Samus pose. And then you also have the little like First Hunt like stamp as part of the logo right there. I think this is pretty middle of the pack for me. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's amazing. There are other Metroid Prime Hunters box arts that I prefer, and I think it's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it doesn't like I love it or like I don't really like it. It's very in the middle, does its job. I like the composition showing you like the multiplayer aspect, Samus on Samus, especially the first hunt demo, because if I remember correctly, in the demo you played as other Samuses when you played the multiplayer aspect. So that makes sense, rather than featuring the other hunters that eventually appeared in Metroid Prime Hunters. I think for this one, I would put it at the end of B tier for me. So below all the other ones I have in B tier. So the other Hunters one, the Fusion one, the Metroid re-release, and then Other M North America. I'm gonna put this at the end of B tier. What about you?
Yeah, so originally I actually had this in A tier, but I was thinking about it just now, and honestly, I'm putting it in Omega tier.
You're putting this in Omega tier.
Omega tier. It's at the bottom of Omega tier. It's at the bottom of Omega tier, below Zero Mission.
Why? Why
But
Omega?
it's because it's such a cool, unique boxer. You have this close-up shot of Samus, and then you have another Samus in the back. The one thing I will say about that is I wish that I wish the Samus reflected in the visor was one of the multiplayer colors. It's just the same carbon copy Variasuit color, so it doesn't quite. So it's not quite perfect. I would have changed that, but maybe that would have messed up with the shot composition as well. So maybe that was a stylistic choice, or maybe just no one thought of that because it's only a demo. But it's also really interesting. So this was artwork before they decided to use the Metroid Prime 2 suit, which was ultimately used in the final game of Metroid Prime Hunters. They were still using the Metroid Prime 1 Variasuit. And so there's a pretty big change there in the cover. But yeah, I love the close-up of Samus's visor. I also love I like the logo more than the actual Finals Hunters logo, where they basically reverse they reverse the font colors, where in the demo Metroid is red and then white is where Hunters are, and they kind of switch it where I guess it's silver in the in the Hunters logo. But they basically switch places.
Yep.
I really like that bold blood red Metroid. Again, I like red. Shocker, I know. Yeah. But but yeah, I really like that bold look. You don't really see other Metroid logos that look like that. And I kind of wish they kept it for the final game. But again, that shot composition, that close up of the visor, which we don't really see in other box arts. We would have seen it if we did the Samus Returns Special Edition, but alas.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah. No, it's all good. File size limits.
We had to drop 2 files, so. Okay, Omega tier. I think you make a compelling case. I think, and I agree. I actually really like the red of the Metroid. I look at all the other logos in front of it, and or box arts, and I feel like they're just doing. I like the North American, European Metroid Prime Hunters box art more. I feel like it's just a stronger composition, as I feel like I'm getting more of the game. I think my biggest problem with the first Hunt one, and again, I don't really dislike it, I think it's pretty good, is the Samus's visor in the foreground that you see the reflection in feels very like low poly to me. There's something about it. It looks weird. I don't know what it is. It looks like a worse version of Samus's helmet in the front. There's something about it that just kind of looks like cheaper or low quality to me. It doesn't look as like high def, or like, I don't know, not high def, but like it looks, I don't know. There's something about it. I'm not a big fan. I like the idea.
It might be the lines on the visor, because
it's the visor lines,
because those early renders of Samus, and you don't really see it as much since the renders are more pushed in the background, whereas this one is up close. But you can see like the individual line. It's not like a perfect circle curvature. You can see like the individual angles, like exactly, as they connect each of the lines.
Yeah, that to me is very like, it looks like it has like less triangles and vertices, essentially. I like it, but I'm right in the middle. It's good, but I would not put it in Omega tier. But that's more power to you. Now we're gonna go back to Metroid Prime Federation Force for one last time, the European and Japanese box art. So this one is actually, in my opinion, much better than the North American version of the Metroid Prime Federation Force box art, because there's actually something happening. The Chibi Federation troopers are fighting off, I believe those are space pirates, right?
Yes.
The game's version of the space pirates. Once again, in a hallway, you have like a bright white background, like a light at the end of the tunnel. You have all the different Federation troopers like all squaring up, shooting in different angles. It kind of gives me Castle Crashers vibes, actually, looking at it. and you have the space pirates. Kind of, I mean, I hate the Federation Force space pirate designs, but they're crawling around and jumping around. I like this one better than the Federation Force North American box art. I actually don't think it's. I actually think it's pretty good. I don't think it's that bad. I really don't. I'm gonna put it before the first Hunt box art, but after the other M North American non-Japanese box art. So I'll put it in B. Second to last in B. I think it's decent. I think it's better than the game in some ways. It kind of makes the game look like a lot of fun, which I don't think the game is necessarily that bad either. So, yeah, where would you put this? I think it's a solid B for me.
Yeah, so we're talking about the other M Japanese box art. I mentioned like, hey, despite how much I dislike this various suit design, I think the overall composition is like really well done, and I really like the box art. And that's the same here. Despite how much I hate the chibi art design, we were really bashing on that
It
Federation
makes the
Force
most
logo.
of it, I think, here.
Yeah, yeah. Again, despite all taking all that aside, the actual composition here, and I know I've been using that word a lot, overusing it, but yeah, I feel like it's really well done here. You have a really good action shot that's really taking full advantage of the space. You have the almost these darkly lit vignette corners that like get more brightly lit as you focus more towards the center. Each of them, each of the Federation Marines is like engaged in something. They're not just standing there looking at some MacGuffin in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the space pirates are active. There's just there's a lot going on, but the way it's framed, it's not overwhelming at the same time. Like it knows where to direct your attention. This is going in A tier for me, honestly. I think this goes in fact, I think this is gonna go one above the other end Japanese art for me. I really like this art.
Okay. I think I think it's really
That's
good.
the one positive thing you're ever going to hear me say about Federation Force. I really like this artwork.
Okay. Let's jump into some more Metroid Prime here. We have, so we're gonna do. I want to talk about both of these because they're kind of the same art essentially. So it's the Japanese art for Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime Remastered. Let's talk about those here. So
okay,
the Japanese cover for Metroid Prime, and the Japanese cover for Metroid Prime Remastered, because composition wise they're pretty much the same. Which I guess with that note I should have talked about the Japanese Metroid Prime, the original, the North American Metroid Prime Remastered. I should have done that, but whatever, hindsight. We'll get to that one right after these. So for this one, I mean it's pretty much the same. So you have the Japanese Metroid Prime, you have Samus floating in space, I guess. She's kind of like reaching, almost not reaching, but kind of like floating towards the foreground almost. Like her hands kind of flowing out. You see her like legs kicked out behind her a little bit. Her power beam glowing. Samus looking right at the camera. A little bit of like an orange glow around her, and she's kind of like floating in space. It has that Metroid Prime 2 like white reticle kind of style to it, which I always thought was interesting because it to me reminds me more Metroid Prime 2 than Metroid Prime. And the remastered version is essentially the exact same thing, except way more high def, way more higher fidelity. It's the exact same pose. The background is slightly different. You now pretty clearly see Talon 4 in the background, whereas in the original box art, I don't think that comes across as clearly. And then in the Metroid Prime Remastered version, that white reticle is way more pronounced, right? Kind of almost in the foreground, kind of like more encapsulating Samus's head than in the original, but very similar. They're almost identical in that way, just kind of which one looks better, which one's more dated. So I'm going to kind of put them pretty close together, at least for me. I really don't like this box art, actually. And I'm anticipating that you like it, but I'm not sure. The reason why I don't like this one is, again, it's a huge contrast to the North American, non-Japanese version of it, which is Samus standing there in a some place, a real place, not just floating in space, grounded, gritty, looking tough. I don't really like Samus kind of floating around, reaching. I don't really like the pose. It feels way too floaty to me. It doesn't feel grounded. I don't like Samus kind of being depicted in that. Not a fan of it, but like being depicted as this like, oh, floating through space, like not groundedness. I don't know how you kind of say it. I'm not a huge fan of this box art. So I'm gonna kind of clump them both together. Obviously, the Metroid Prime Remastered version is better. It looks better. It's new assets, HD assets. I'm not a huge fan of this box art though, but it's not bad. I'm gonna put it in B tier, below Metroid Prime Hunters NA and Metroid Fusion NA, but above the European Metroid release, other MNA, Federation Force, and Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt. So I'm gonna throw it right in B tier. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't think it's a bad box art. It's not really my taste, but it's not bad. What do you think?
Okay, bear with me. I got a lot to say here. Okay. So lore dumping time.
Got it.
So as a piece of artwork, and I'm talking about the original version here. We'll get to Prime Remaster in a moment. As a piece of artwork, I really like this artwork. I love how the colors contrast each other. I believe the assets used for that lock-on, I believe that's from the X-ray visor.
Okay.
That's kind of encircling Samus's head there. I kind of like how at the bottom you almost have this tease of the gravity suit coming up near the leg region.
Oh yeah. I didn't even notice that. Interesting.
Yeah, and so I think that's a really cool setup right there.
Right, and that's way more clear in the newer one. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, as a piece of artwork, as a frame that I would put in a poster, like this would be like an Omega tier for me, but as a piece of box art, I actually much prefer the North American box art, and I think it conveys the game's themes a lot more.
100%
I think
agreed.
I think it conveys like the style, the tone. It conveys Samus as a character more. Like this is a cool action shot,
Yes.
but it doesn't really tell you what the game is about. And I think as a piece of box art, that North American box art is significantly more effective, as again, as a piece of marketing to tell the player, hey, this is, it's a better cover for the book, basically. It's a more accurate depiction of that.
Yep.
And so I'm actually, despite how much I like the art, I'm actually going to put this right below Metroid Prime North American. So still B tier for me.
Both of them are just the original.
Just the original. So let's get to Prime Remastered. Okay. So this is the second part. So Prime Remastered. Again, this piece of art is gorgeous. I even better than the original art. You have a much higher poly model. Like you mentioned, the gravity suit effect is a lot more clear in this. The colors are more vibrant. You also have like this filter over it where it has like these vertical lines going across, which I think looks really cool.
Yep.
But I think the box art for this sucks because of how the Switch box is designed. It cuts off parts of Samus on the left side, and it looks really awkwardly framed and off-center. And so I'm actually, despite how much I love the artwork here for the Japanese remaster, I'm actually going to put this in C tier, right below the Metroid European release for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, again, really gorgeous piece of art. I actually have this as one of my wallpapers for my PC. It's a really cool piece of art, but again, just the way it's utilized and framed in the artwork, I'm not quite a fan of, just because of how it cuts Samus off.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, I think that's fair. And then real quick, let's jump right back to the Metroid Prime Remastered box art. I am going to put this in, just because I don't want to spend too much time on it, because it's, again, pretty similar to the original, but it does address kind of, I think, your qualm with it a little bit. It's not as orange, the background. It has a little more of a blue turquoisey kind of tint to it, even though there's a little bit of a glow there. For me, I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna put this at the bottom of A. Really, I think it's too clean. It's too glossy. It's too like almost toy-like. Like Samus almost kind of looks like an action figure here rather than like a real person standing in the space. I also like the angle. She's kind of looking up. Her body almost feels kind of like squished to me. Like her torso is like shorter or something. I don't know what I can't put my like it's like they kind of squished her just a little bit on the box. I don't know what it is. I feel like it kind of lost the grittiness of it. It's a little too squeaky clean. I mean, it's still the Metroid Prime. I think it's really good, but there's something about it I like the gritty design and like even like the just Samus itself. Like Samus looks a lot more menacing, I think, in the original box art compared to the remastered one. And again, the closed fist. Not a fan of the closed fist. To me, it's like Samus like showing like readiness she doesn't need to show. You know, I don't know. I like the more robotic, cold iceness of the original pose here. That I don't know. I didn't need that little bit of. I liked Samus just looking forward, ready to go, rather than just kind of looking up. Or I don't know. It feels a little too derived. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's derived from the original, but I put it at the end of A tier. What about you?
You know, it's funny. Despite our wildly different opinions on this, I'm also putting this at the bottom of A tier for me.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, I guess I should say what I like about this artwork. So again, I feel like the biggest thing for me is just that color composition for me, where I really like how much more the Varia suit stands out. You can also they also actually have the door in the background this time. You don't really get that in the original version,
you're
but
right.
you get the door in the background.
And you can see the glow
too,
of it.
Yeah, which I think is a really cool touch.
That's a good point.
I think your criticisms of the Varia suit is actually the same criticisms I have of it in game, despite how much I like it. Where it's where it's almost like it's too clean, where it doesn't have like those subtle imperfections on it.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's a cool design. But it's, you know, I guess it just depends on how the lighting is shined on it.
Yeah.
I think for a box art cover though, I don't mind it quite as much. That's just more of something I notice in game. And so I don't mind it looking, you know, more pristine like in the case of the box art here. And I don't know, I just think it's a cool action pose though. You know, as you talk more about it though, I definitely see what you mean, where you definitely lose that kind of like that ice cold bounty hunter like killer look in Samus. That kind of like determined to like finish the objective, whereas this, it's, you know, it's definitely more of a pose. It's less of like an in the moment shot.
Yeah, I'm getting more like hopeful hero from the remastered one, whereas the original I'm getting like stone cold killer, which is what I love about that.
Yeah.
Like, and this is totally fine, but doesn't scratch that itch for me as much as I like the original one. But still, I mean, both A tier. It's still good box art. Let's do one more update before we get to our last. Because I just did that one. We have 9 left. Just real quick, I have Zero Mission, NA, Japanese Metroid Fusion, Dark Echoes Metroid Prime 2, and the original NA Metroid Prime box art and Omega. And this is actually a lot to recite. I don't know if I'm gonna go all the way. You know what? I'll just recap it at the end. Screw it, because I want to relist all these box arts. That's gonna take too much time. Let's keep going. Let's power through, because we only have 9 left, and then we can do a full update on where we are at. We are going to jump back to the Game Boy now. This is the Metroid 2 box art, which apparently there's just that one. Are there no other box arts for Metroid 2 Return of Samus, or just that? It's just that one.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, this is the pose that I was thinking of from the Metroid re-release serial box art. It's pretty much doing the exact same pose, though. Yes, if you look at this, it's a little different. I honestly, it's not that Super Metroid level yet, but you can see they're getting to that point. It's Samus in her like knee down, gun up pose. She's on just a flat, deserty, slightly mountainous plain with a blue sky behind her that dips into space. You have the big Metroid 2 Return of Samus logo at the top. You can't miss it. It's huge. And yeah. It's a good box art. I don't think it's that bad. It's classic. I don't know. It kind of like captures that time period, I think, very much. I mean, I love the Metroid 2 and Super Metroid and the Metroid re-release, like Samus's look in those. I love that art style. Yeah, I mean, I think it's better than the cereal box, but really not much more. So I'm putting it at the end of B tier for me. It's good. None special. Gets the job done. So I'm putting it at the bottom of B tier. Pretty good. What about you?
I'm debating whether or not I want to put this at the top of A tier or the bottom of Omega tier. I really like this. I really like this box art a lot, and
okay.
I think I'm not gonna quite put it in Omega yet, because there is one other box art that I definitely want to put above it. So I think this is going at the tip top of A tier for me. I absolutely love.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love this box art so much. Hey, what can I say? I appreciate the classics on occasion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really depicts that almost Western feel of Metroid. I don't mean Western as in, Western versus eastern locations in the United,
I mean, like
in the
Cowboys
world.
Western.
Yeah, cowboy. Yeah, it almost. Yeah, you know, you have this desert landscape. You know,
Mm.
you have the gunslinger look of
Yes.
Samus, which I really like. You know,
Mm.
you have the fresh smoke coming off the arm
Yes, I was about
cannon.
to say that. Yes,
Cannon.
good
It
call.
looks,
Yeah.
which you know, which also brightens up the top of the box art, which is part of why that logo stands out so much. Which is a really cool but subtle detail. Again, I love, you know, the hand drawn artwork
Mm.
of all that. Samus is framed right in center, which makes sense. It's called Samus Returns, so obviously she's, you know, taking up the whole thing, and it's the birth of like arguably what is one of the most iconic Samus poses now.
That's a great
You know,
point.
the kneeling down after a fresh landing. Like, I mean, this is where it all began. And you know, this is this is the start of the Variasuit design. You know, this is where the basketball shoulder pads started, and you know, I think right out of the gate, you know, they came out swinging with this. I also like kind of the mechanical muscly tendons that you see in like the slits of the suit as well. I think that's a really cool detail to show that, you know, despite the bulk, it's still really flexible. I also think the blue visor in this art like also like really matches the sky tone as well,
Mm.
so I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, this is going at the tip top of A tier for me.
Tim, you want to convince me otherwise, like of my opinion, because the more I look at, because you wrote your list down. I'm doing these off the top of my head. I'm doing it as we're ranking them. You already ranked yours. I didn't. I'm ranking them as we go. So
I have
I might
changed a
flip-flop.
few.
Yeah, you
I
have.
have changed a few in this, but yeah.
I honestly agree with everything you're saying. The more you pointed those things out, I was like, damn, you're right. That's really. I love the shadow work. I love Samus's like this is the originator of the pose. I love like you can tell she's a bounty hunter here. Like she's out on a
Yeah.
bounty. She's you know like that. I really like. You get that like she's and the Western like she's on like a desert expanse almost like out there in the middle of nowhere. She's not just. I like the fact that she's just like in Zero Mission. She's not just in like a generic sci-fi hallway. She's out there. She's in like in an actual area out in the world. And I really, really, really love the title font. It gives me that like 80s fantasy movie look to it. Like just like the coloration and like the blockiness of it, the Roman numerals and the return of Samus in the Roman numeral itself.
That's another thing that this game originated. This is like the originator of like the Metroid font,
Yeah.
the Metroid logo font that's used in like the majority of games. Not all of them, but the majority of games moving forward.
Gives me like He-Man
So yeah.
vibes with the logo. Ah,
Yeah, yeah, right.
you know, I actually really like. The more I think about it, I actually really like this. I might have to change it up. You know what? I'm gonna put this at the bottom of A. Actually, I'm gonna put it at the second. I'm gonna put it up at the end. At the end of A, but second to last. So before Metroid Prime Remastered, but after Super Metroid, Metroid Dread, and then other M Japanese. I think you convinced me. You made a very good argument. That it's really good. It's actually a really good box art.
Redeeming it from my Metroid Dread pitch.
I really like it. Okay. Here's one that I'm really curious to say what you're gonna say about this one, because it is the North American version of Metroid Prime Pinball. What do you think about this? The North American, European, non-Japanese version of Metroid Prime Pinball for the Nintendo DS. What do you think about this one?
I mean, it's good. There's really not much to say. I think as a piece of box art, like, it does what it needs to do. You know, it's framed nicely. You know, you have the pinball on one half to show that it's very much a pinball game, but you also have like, I kind of like how Samus is faded in on the top end, almost like overlooking the pinball table. I think this is gonna be bottom of B tier for me. Yeah,
Okay.
Metroid Prime Pinball at the bottom of B. I don't really have much else to say about it.
I actually really like it. I love Samus's like looming over like the pinball table, and she like takes up like the top half of the art entirely. I love how close and zoomed in it is too. Like you're really like you feel like you're right on the table, and I really love the Metroid Prime Pinball logo. It doesn't
That is true, yeah.
It doesn't have like the screw attack kind of lightning bolt. It just has the morph ball, which I think is interesting, with a little bit of like a blue kind of shell around it, and then the pinball.
Well, that's actually that's actually the health bar in the center of the
You're right.
table.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Oh wow, that's a good point. I haven't played pinball. We got to do a pinball episode. I think we need to do
We
it.
we did last year. I'm not opposed to doing round two though.
Was I? I don't know if I was there for that.
You weren't there. That was
Okay.
me and Andy episode.
Gotta bring back some pinball. I really like this. I think it's like a funny box art to me. It's like goofy almost. It's just how like Samus like menacingly like looming over a pinball table. I think is really funny. Um, damn. Am I gonna put this in A? I think it's really funny. I think it's a really funny box art. I think it's really good. Like it stands out when you look at it. You immediately know what the game is. Like
It works better than it has any right to.
it
That's
works
the thing
really
with
well.
that's the thing with this box art. Like it has so many factors that should be going against to it, but like it utilizes them all perfectly and it makes it all work.
It's like it's a B tier box art for me, but how Samus is looking down at the pinball makes me laugh, and that bumps it up a tier. So I'm gonna put it at the end of A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I think you actually convinced. I think I'm gonna be moving this up to A as well.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
And at the end of A.
Yeah. We'll put it
Okay.
at the bottom of A, but yeah.
Okay. Wow. I really like it. It's really funny to me. All right, moving on. We have just 7 more to go. This one is the Metroid Prime Trilogy box art. So if you haven't seen this one, you have on the front. Well, I guess I mean the back is just kind of it's actually almost kind of similar to the Metroid Prime 2 Japanese cover in a way. But the front is you have the big Metroid Prime Trilogy logo. You have Samus pointing the arm cannon right at the screen. It has this like dark gray blue kind of look to it almost, or like black and whitish with a little bit of gray and like grayish blue. You have the all silver Metroid Prime Trilogy logo there. Prime has like a big outline like border around it, which isn't common for it. And then on the back you kind of have like a Samus in different like shades almost. It kind of looks like Dark Suit Samus, I think.
The back of it is that Japanese Prime 2 artwork where you have
yes.
the Varia dark suit.
I was gonna say it literally looks exact. It might as well be that. It's exactly like that. I really like the close up on Samus pointing right at the screen. I really like the Prime Trilogy box art. It's different. I love how zoomed in it is on Samus. It doesn't have stuff all over the place. I love like the arm cannon being right at the middle, and you have all these like lines kind of like breaking up the box art coming from that. I really really like the trilogy box art. I don't know where I'm gonna put it yet. I want to hear your opinion. No, I don't want to hear your opinion. I'm gonna put it somewhere first. I'm gonna put it. In A tier between Metroid Dread and the Japanese Other M box art. I really like it. What about you?
So I don't know if you heard me clacking away on my keyboard, but I actually made 2 different position adjustments because of how wildly. But I was thinking more about it, and I think this is going high A tier, just below where I put the Japanese NES or the Famicom art.
Yep.
This is going just below that. But yeah, I really love the
really
the Metroid Prime Trilogy art. It's kind of like the opposite actually of how I feel about the Japanese Metroid Prime art, where I really like that piece of art, but I don't think it's quite effective as box art. I kind of feel the opposite here, where on its own, I don't think it's a very special piece of art, but as box art, like I think it's super effective at what it does and conveys. I love the blue kind of film grain filter that's put over it. I like the silver lines that all converge to the center.
You can see like the scan lines going across. It's really cool.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a sucker for the back of the steelbook, where you have the Japanese Prime 2 art. But I'm not even including that in that though. I just want to talk about the front of the art. One thing I really love that just occurred to me, and this is why I bumped it up to A tier. All the Metroid Prime logos always have something in the background. In Metroid Prime, you have the screw attack. Echoes, you have kind of you have that same thing, but without the screw attack logo. Same with Hunters. Corruption, you have Planet Phase in the background. And at first glance, you might not see it for Prime Trilogy, because the logo itself doesn't have it. But the way Samus is framed, you actually have Samus's arm cannon as the circle
Yes, the glow
highlighting
of
in the
it.
back of the
Yep.
logo. And it's even cooler because, not unrelated to the box art, but on the disc, when you open the disc, the center of the CD is actually framed
Yes.
in the center of the arm cannon, which is such a cool detail.
Hmm.
And so, even though that's technically not a part of the box art, I'm kind of putting that together because I feel like it all like cohesively comes together in one nice package, which is what the Metroid Prime trilogy is. And so that's why I'm putting this in high A tier for me.
High A tier. I'm right there with you. Yeah, really good. We actually both have it as third on our A tiers.
Nice.
Um, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left to go. The next one is Metroid: Samus Returns. So not the Legacy Edition or the Special Edition, just the plain straight up Metroid: Samus Returns for the 3DS. If you're unfamiliar, it is Samus in her classic pose, exactly like she has it in the original Metroid 2, but obviously with the upgraded Samus Returns version of the Varia suit. Samus is kind of floating in space because the background is SR388 and then the spatial background. Um, it has the Metroid. I actually just noticed this, but it has the Metroid Dread and Metroid Samus Returns both have the same Metroid font for the top, and then
Yeah, the Mercury Steam games have like that specific font style.
that font. This is way better than Dread's Metroid because it has like a steel gradient to it, and it has like like a shine like off of it, like a glare. I really don't like Dread's like plain white text as much as thematically it makes sense in the style.
Oh, I'm the opposite, but
Yeah.
I'll let you continue.
I think this is one of those things where I really like the elements of it, but I do not like the composition. Samus in the Samus Returns Varia suit, badass. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, I literally have this cover art on my wall. It's right there. I really like this box art. The space looks awesome, but I just don't like Samus just being in space against the backdrop. It just doesn't do anything for me, especially when she's crouching, which implies that she is so huge that she is literally kneeling down on SR388. It looks like she's like standing on it, which I don't know if I like or don't like. I really like this box art, but like I wish she was. I wish they had kept her in like a desert scene or like maybe something more like Zero Mission with like a scene with like the sky like lit up with stars. I'm not the biggest fan of her just being floating out there, but I love the detail and like the colors of the background. I love the colors of this box art. It just pops. It looks really good. So I do like this. I do like this box art. I'm gonna actually put it just above the original Metroid 2 box art in A tier. So I'm gonna put it right in essentially the middle, above Metroid 2 Return of Samus for the Game Boy, Metroid Prime Remastered, and Metroid Prime Pinball, but below Other M Japanese, Trilogy, Metroid Dread, and Super Metroid in North America and PAL. So I really like this one. I wish compositionally she was back in the desert thing, but Samus's Varia suit looks badass. The colors look badass. Looks awesome. I love the Metroid and Samus Returns logo. I think it's great. It also doesn't have like in the previous one, it does not have like the screw attack behind it. It's just a straight up text. But I think that's fine because you kind of have the SR388 kind of over in the back as the backdrop kind of to it. I love the flare, the glare. I love the stars. Samus right in your face. The suit looks good. Middle of A tier for me. I like this one.
I really like this box art too. Colossal downgrade from the original, though, in my opinion. And so I'm definitely not putting it in A tier. I think this is going. Oh man, this might. Yeah, I think this will be a B tier, bottom of B tier for me.
Bottom B tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll put it just below Metroid Prime Hunters. That's where I'm thinking. So pretty much. So my big criticism is what you basically just said. How rather than having Samus on the desert, now she's just kind of just floating there in space with.
It's my biggest gripe.
Yeah, and I it's one issue, but like it's a pretty colossal issue that completely changes the framing of the art. Whereas, and you completely lose that gunslinging Western aspect of Metroid. You don't have the fresh smoke coming out of the arm cannon anymore, and I feel like that really takes away like that raw gritty atmosphere of the original box art. And then also I also just kind of like the hand drawn nature of that original too. I understand why they use 3D renders this time, but I definitely prefer that hand drawn for kind of the tone of Metroid 2. But that's also just a product of its time. So
Yeah.
but that being said, though, I do want to talk about like what this does right, because like you said, this various suit design is killer. It's
Awesome.
not my personal favorite
I
various suit
love
design.
it.
That goes to Prime 2, but like I still love this design. There's so many cool details. I love like the little the drills and the rivets that like make Samus's suit look more like a real piece of machinery.
Yeah.
I love those details. I
Like
love
the
how
vents in the
detailed.
shoulder, like,
Yeah,
so sick.
I love how detailed and bulky the arm cannon is. Like it look
Mhm.
it's such, especially coming off of the Nerf gun that was Other M's arm cannon. Like this thing looks like a weapon. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be at the end of this thing. Like this thing
Yep.
is heavy duty. I love that. And then on the actual cover, this also, much like the Hunter's cover we talked about earlier, it also has a really cool glisten embossed effect that looks
Yep.
really pretty with the logo too. So I think that's a huge plus. So yeah, still a really good cover. Putting it in the bottom of B tier, but
That's fair.
doesn't quite hit me as hard as that original Metroid 2 cover does.
You did convince me there. I'm gonna keep it an A tier, but I am gonna put the original above it because I do agree. I love the original bounty hunter feel of this. This Samus Returns is more Prime to me, just straight up killer.
Yeah.
Whereas the original Metroid 2, you get that gunslinger vibe, which I agree I really like. And again, I love that she's in a location, really there, not floating in space. She's not just an asset put on a backdrop. That said,
And
it's,
even going off of that, talking about the original cover again, something I didn't mention is you can actually see the location reflected in her visor. You don't get that in the new cover, and it's such a small detail. But again, I feel like it's a small detail that really
oh
sells
wow,
that whole scene.
you're right. And I also love, like you mentioned earlier, the blue of her visor with the blue of the backdrop. I mean, I love the
Uh-huh.
Samus Returns one, but like it's a green visor, has nothing to do with the backdrop. There is no kind of like play there. I think they're both really good though. But I see what you're saying with it. I agree. Okay. Next up, we are going to do. I'm gonna actually. I don't want to do these back to back, so let's mix it up. Because I'm saving the best for last, and you know which
Okay.
one. You know which one I'm waiting to do.
Best in quotation marks.
So, um, we have first. I'm gonna go with the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, North American and European box art. So for this one, you have once again Samus standing inexplicably in the middle of space to the point where it looks like she's literally a massive, gigantic, miles tall being standing on a planet. You have first you have a mirror image of Samus that is standing back to back with her as Samus looks up at you from the planet. You can I really like about this is that you can see like the Samus behind her like melding to her almost, like they're kind of attached by like you can kind of see how it's pushing out from her almost, like you see that double, and it has this, it's like a Venom sticking to Spider-Man is all kind of quality to it. You have, I don't know what planet that is, I don't know if it's any kind of specific planet, but it's blue on one side, it's red on the left. You have a transparent kind of image of Dark Samus kind of just floating there and not in a nondescript fashion. You don't have a screw attack behind the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption logo, Metroid Prime 3, and then you have Corruption in its own font, which kind of reminds me of Fusion's subtitle font. This really bothers me because I think I really like Metroid Prime 3. Metroid Prime 3 has some of the weakest box arts, I think, in the series, which is a real shame because the game is really good. The only thing I really like about this box art is the double Samus image and how they're kind of melded together. It's a really cool concept, but like the nondescript standing in space, Dark Samus is kind of like almost like a meme, like transparently sitting there, like I don't know, like kind of reminds me of like that one meme of like the guy in the mountains transparent, kind of like singing against this like the country sky or whatever. Like I don't know, there's something about it,
yeah.
just like it just feels like it was just randomly thrown in there. Like I would have rather like maybe it be bigger or have more of a pose, just like Samus just like T-posing, standing, looking at you. It's a shame. I really think this is one of the weaker box arts in the entire series. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C. I'm really not a big fan of it, which I hate to say because I love Metroid Prime 3. But I think it's one of the weaker ones in the series. I wouldn't put it at the bottom. I would put it in the middle of C tier after the cereal box, but before the Japanese Metroid NES and Federation Force. Are you good? You're looking off to the side of your...
Looking at my cover of Prime 3 as
Oh, you're looking at...
now.
Oh, you're looking at... Okay.
It's off screen, but yeah,
okay. So what do you think?
Oh, so this one... This is a weird one. I'm so mixed on this cover, because like, on one hand, I really like the composition. I like the colors. I think the colors really pop. I like that kind of duality between the orange and the blue that kind of sells, like, between, you know, being corrupted and not. You know, I like, you know, that kind of echo of Samus. You know, it's not actually a corrupted Samus, but it kind of represents a corrupted Samus.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of really cool things that this art does. But then, like you mentioned, you know, you have the random Dark Samus image in the background, which I get the theming there, but it doesn't fit the composition.
It's not super effective. Yeah.
Again, it's the photobombing effect, like we were talking with the other M art. It feels like
exactly.
it feels like a photobomb. It doesn't fit with the scenery that's going on, even though it fits.
It could
the
not
theming.
be there and it would be fine.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a fan of Prime 3's promotional art in general. It looks very cartoony compared to Prime 1 and 2's promotional art, which I especially don't like, because when the game was first announced in 2005, you know, before the Revolution was even the Wii, it had art that was more like in line with that Prime 1-2 style art, where it kind of had more of this like hard sci-fi realism, whereas in Prime 3 they kind of go for more cartoony art style, and I don't think it fits.
Yeah.
And I also really don't like this pose that Samus is in. She has like
What's
both
she
of her
doing?
arms
Yeah.
just like
just standing out like this. Her arms out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a weird pose, and so I don't know, because like on one hand, like if I'm looking at it at a distance, you know, again, I like the composition, I like the coloring, but like when I look at the finer details, there's just so much that it doesn't work. I think it's going at the very bottom of B tier for me.
Okay.
Very bottom of B tier.
All right, that's fair. Yeah. Metroid Prime 3 is one of those games where, like, when I think about it, I think of the trilogy box art. I almost never think of the actual Metroid Prime 3 box arts because they're just so not memorable to me. Really, the only thing I like about it is the double Samus image, but it's not enough for me to, like, put it... Like, it's... Yeah. Too much of it kind of detracts from me. I'm not a huge fan of it. Yeah, C tier for me. But B, I think is fair too. Okay, 4 more left. We're going back to Super Metroid for one more time. We have the Japanese Super Metroid R tier Doom. It looks like you're ready to jump in on what you want to say there, so I'll let you go ahead. What's your opinion?
Oh no, I was just looking at my list. Are you sure we only have 4 more left? Because like,
how many?
On my thing.
How many do you have left?
So, not including the special editions, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left.
3, 4, 5, 6 left. Interesting. Okay, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go through these 4 that I think we have, and then you're going to let me know which 2 we're missing, and we'll throw them in there, because I apparently didn't upload those images.
All right, sure thing.
Okay, so either way, we have the Japanese Super Metroid box art. What do you think?
I think this is going to be my last Omega tier of the night. I love this piece of art so much. Again, I also really like the North American art, but I feel like the Japanese artwork, you know, it's like it captures the full scenery. I also like what they did with I like both of the versions of Ridley's. I like that more red Ridley that stands out, but I also like this kind of still aggressive Ridley, but also like blends into the background, but looks very creepy because of how much his lines like blend into the background and make it more alien. And you know, you also have a much fuller shot of Kraid. It looks like Samus taking on the world, which is
taking
what
on
Super
literally.
Metroid is.
Yeah, she's taking on everything in this shot. Yep.
Yeah, you got Ridley, you got Kraid, you got the space pirates. I think you might have Spore Spawn in the background too. I'd have to look at the art again, but yeah, there's like there's so much going in the art, but because of the way the colors are centered, like it doesn't feel overwhelming. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You have that same shot from the North American art, except instead of Samus firing a blast, she's charging up her charge beam, which I really like. Yeah, this is and then I like how the logo is framed too, like on the kind of overlooking the entire battlefield. This is gonna be bottom of Omega tier. Actually, you know what? We'll put this above the Hunter's First Hunt demo.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put this above Hunter's First Hunt in the Omega tier.
Well, I think Andy will be really happy with my opinion. This is also an Omega for me, but it's second on my list, just below Zero Mission. I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, do I put it above or below the Fusion one? I think I put it above the Fusion one. I think this is the second best one so far. This is second on Omega for me. Awesome. I think this is one of the best pieces of box art for a game out there. Like, this is a top one for me, even with the Zero Mission one as well. I love it. Again, it feels like an 80s fantasy movie. It's like Black Cauldron kind of like Disney movies kind of like vibes to me. Like, it just had that artwork. You made a really good point how there's so much going on, but it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming because Samus is like the focal point. She's like the brightest of it, and then Ridley's kind of faded in. Kraid is all the way in the back, but I love how Kraid is in there. You can see the entirety of Kraid looming over. You can see how like they're in a huge cave too, which I think is perfect. Like this perfectly encapsulates Super Metroid. This is Super Metroid. Like 2AT, you can see Key Hunters in there, Ridley. I mean, it's literally just missing a Metroid. Is really all it's missing. Which, by the way, I think it's really interesting how, like, for Metroid, there really aren't Metroids on the box art. There's only one game, I think, that has Metroids really on the box art at all. One or two of them. There really aren't any.
Even Metroid, both Metroid 2 box arts, the game really centered around Metroids, does not feature Metroids, interestingly
I think that's really interesting. Yeah, Metroids are not on the box art really ever, except in, like, one case, which we're about to get to soon. Yeah, I love this one. I like how the logo is right at the bottom. It's the classic Super Metroid logo. It kind of overlaps onto the red borders, which I had the gripe about the other box art, especially the Metroid NES ones, kind of having too much blank space. This has a little bit of blank space, not too much. It's showing more than enough art, I think. Like, we're getting a full scene. Nothing feels cut off, except like Kraid, who's obviously massive. That's going to happen. Yeah, I love this. It's awesome. Awesome, like 80s, 90s, like fantasy movie, like movie poster. It looks awesome. It's so badass. I love it.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is like a required poster in your room.
Yeah,
like,
I actually need this. Like, I have Samus Returns. I need this. I need this in a Metroid Prime one. And yeah, love this one. Really, 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 really good. Speaking of Metroids not being on the box art, let's jump to the one that I'm aware of that does have Metroids on the box art, and that is going to be the Japanese version of Metroid Prime Pinball. So it's actually pretty similar to the North American and European version of the box art, except instead of being zoomed in on the box art, or on the pinball table, we're pushed back a little bit more. Samus is no longer really looming over it. She's kind of transparently in the corner. There are space pirates on the board, which I don't believe the North American version doesn't have any enemies on there, but this one you can see there are a few space pirates kind of hanging around. And for the first time, you see that there are Metroids floating around on the box art. That said, I think this is weaker than the North American version. This one definitely feels like they took assets and just slapped them around. Like, the Metroid just feels slapped onto the front. They're like, oh wait, this is a Metroid game. We don't put Metroids in the box, so let's just throw it on there. Like, they just have two transparent renders on there, throw it on there. I do like how they put the space pirates on the pinball table, but I don't like how it's zoomed out. I loved how we were like, it felt like we were on the table with Samus looking over us in the original, and this one kind of just like, it feels like a lot of assets kind of just thrown together. I don't think it's really bad. It looks like a lot of fun, but not the biggest fan. It looks kind of like it looks like a fake box art to me. It looks like someone made it on the internet, like a fake one. That's what if this game didn't exist and they were trying to make a hoax, this is what the box art would look like. It looks like a bunch of random assets kind of thrown in there. Like, there's even that the Metroid at the right, which is looking directly at the camera, which is so weird. I feel like there's no like I don't feel like I've ever seen that Metroid art, that specific Metroid on the right, like ever. Like having a Metroid looking right straight at the camera like that just feels so weird. Like it's so we're used to kind of having them tilted to the side so you kind of see their whole profile. Yeah. All that said, not the biggest fan of this one. I'm gonna put it at the I'm gonna put it at the I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier after first hunt.
This is going to the top
What?
of D tier. D tier.
Right. Okay. All right.
I think you summed this up perfectly when you said that this feels like fan-made box art, like to a T. I feel like,
Yeah.
we were just talking about how, the North American Prime pinball artwork, it works better than it has any right to, because they are able to convey all the aspects of the game and they utilize it to its fullest potential. This is really just, a bunch of just random assets just kind of thrown together.
Yeah.
Samus is no longer imposing and overlooking the board. She's just like, shoot it off to the side now. It's nowhere near as effective. The Metroids don't even have that much of a presence in Metroid Prime Pinball. Like obviously they're there, they interact with the table, but they're not like, they're not like the first enemy I think of when I think of Prime Pinball. So I don't think they should have as much of a presence on this box art that they do. The Space Pirates only appear on 2 boards. They only appear, which to be fair, the Pirate Frigate, which is on this board, is one of the boards they appear on. But yeah, this box art doesn't do anything better than the original. It's all just downhill compared to that first one. Mm-hmm. Not a fan.
Yeah, I think actually I feel the same. I don't feel my ranking is accurate. I'm gonna put it at the top of C actually. That's how I felt. I just don't feel like I accurately represented it by being at the bottom of B. I think it's more close to the box art at C. Yeah, not a big fan of this one. Okay, well 2 more as far as I'm concerned, but apparently I missed 2 others. But let's move on to these 2. And finally, for Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, we have the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption Japanese box art. Once again, it is Samus standing in the middle of space. Now she's not. In this case, she doesn't seem like she's standing on the planet. I'm pretty sure it's very clearly Phase as the planet here. She's standing just in space. She's like, you're kind of like looking up at her almost. She's like this, kind of like just looking up, kind of looking down at you, but like with her body tilted back. This is so like a Marvel movie poster. You have all these characters who are filling out the back, looking out profile away towards the side. You have like people with their backs like turned to the camera. You have the goofy looking Ridley in this game. Dark Samus is like, I don't even know what she's doing. She's just like sticking her head out amongst, like, she almost doesn't even look like the bad guy. She looks like just another character in the back. Again, not a huge fan of this box art. It's just, it feels like it's like a bad movie poster. I do like the blue. I love the bluish green, like the turquoisey look to it. I love like the spindrels of like space dust in the back, but it looks like a fake box art. It looks like someone was trying to make a movie poster for Metroid Prime 3 and they literally made like a Marvel movie with all these characters in the back and looking off at the sides. Like, not a huge fan of this one either. I think it's goofier than the other one. I would put it like, honestly, the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption box arts are so not memorable to me at all. It's not like horrible, but I'm not a huge fan of it really. Yeah, it feels like a fake poster to me. Like, it doesn't look real. I might have to put it at the bottom of C, maybe above Federation Force. So second to last. It's not as bad as Federation Forces, the NA version, but like, not great. Not a big fan. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhat in agreement, but I'm gonna put this in C tier as well. But between actually, I think I'm gonna go lower than that. I think I'm gonna put that below Other M. Yeah, put that below Other M North American for me.
Okay.
Yeah, this is another instance like the Prime 3 poster where it's like, I think there's aspects of this that are cool. Again, I love the colors here. I like how I love the kind of neon blue. You don't really see that in Metroid box art, so that stands out. It, fits the theme of the game with like Phazon being at its most, its biggest presence ever. It really stands out with, not just Samus, but the rest of the characters as well, except for Rundus maybe. But yeah, this is such a goofy Avengers looking poster, and that's just not what Metroid is at all. And that's not even what.
Yes, it's very Avengers-esque.
Yeah, it looks like something that should be for a crossover, but that's not what Prime 3 is at all. It just has it's just a little more cinematic and has some speaking roles. Like that's really all it is. It definitely doesn't fit the tone of the game at all. Like you said, like you have the random Federation Marine.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just noticed him. What is that? I was like, who is that? Oh, it's a Federation trooper. Why is that even there?
They want, I don't know, they wanted one more character for symmetry. It's like, okay, we don't have any more speaking roles. I don't know, the Federation troopers,
Admiral Dane.
Yeah,
why did Dane there?
Why didn't they put the Chadmiral there?
Yeah, they even have one of the Brio enemies there too. I think one of the space pirates, or one of the
that's a space pirate, yeah. But yeah, like you mentioned, Dark Samus doesn't even look like an antagonist. She looks like she's a part of like the team up,
like part of the crew. Yeah, what is up with that? If anything, Gondreda looks more like the villain in this shot. I think. Or Rundus or something. Who, by the way, Rundus's body shape is so weird. I thought he was standing to the side, but then I realized no, he's looking right at the camera. He's like putting his chest out. Cool character, but weird design.
Yeah, I think as a piece of art, like despite the goofiness and like how tonally off it is compared to the game, I like it. But as a piece of box art, like this thing sucks.
Yeah, yes, I agree. As art, not bad. As box art, not good. Which is a shame because I really love Metroid Prime 3 Corruption.
I also will say, as much as I like the blue of the background and how it contrasts with Samus, I don't like how it contrasts with the Corruption font on the logo. I do think I think they should have done a little bit, like it's not terrible, you can still see it. Like I think they could have done a little more to make it stand out from the background.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty on par, more or less. We're both put it in C tier, so nothing crazy. Before we move on to the one I think is the last one, do you know which? Because I think you know what I'm talking about. The one that
it's the big debate question.
Yes,
that's going to be the grand finale.
What are the two that we're apparently missing here?
So I have North American Metroid Prime 2. We only covered the Japanese one.
You're right.
And then I have Japanese Metroid Zero Mission, which, believe it or not, also has Metroids.
Okay, well, clearly I have to update this template. How do I?
We can do that after the episode.
Oh, that makes me so mad though. Okay, yeah. So let's do those. Did I not upload those? That's crazy. I could have sworn I downloaded all of them. Okay, I'm gonna have to update this template. I'm sorry, folks. Okay.
Well, by the time they'll see it, it'll be already updated. So
I know,
they will be fine.
But for the video, I want to see if there's a way I could like update on the fly, but I guess I can't. That's a shame. Okay. I'll update the template and I'll write in here at some point. Okay, let's start first with the Metroid Zero Mission Japanese box art. Where would you put this?
I really like this. I think this is going to be a low B tier for me. It doesn't, don't like it anywhere near as much as the North American art, but I still think it's a pretty cool piece of art. You have Samus framed in the center, and then everything else is framed as a shadow, which I think is really cool and unique, and especially for like Zero Suit Samus, I think that fits kind of the theming of that section of the game, and so I think that's really cool. Normally I would think the Metroids are kind of random, but being that this is a remake of the first game, I think it's actually kind of makes sense to put the Metroids here. There's other games that would make sense too, but I think if you're going to put a Metroid in a cover, I think it makes a hell of a lot more sense than the Prime Pinball cover, that's for sure. And so, yeah, much prefer the North American cover, but I still think this is pretty good, enough to put it in a B tier. I'm going to put it between Super Metroid and Metroid Prime Remastered Japan.
Okay, so you said B tier between
Super Metroid North American and Metroid Prime Remastered Japan.
And Metroid Prime. Where did I put that? You put Metroid Prime Remastered Japan in C tier.
Oh, I did.
Yes, yes, you did put it between Metroid Fusion NA and is that where you meant to put it? Maybe I mistakenly put it there.
No, no, no.
Because
Let's see. Where's the start of B tier on mine? Because I don't have the tier list. I just have
sorry,
my Google
so
Doc.
so B tier as far as I have it for you goes as follows from left to right: Metroid Prime Original North America, Metroid Prime Japanese Original, Metroid Prime Japanese, Metroid Prime Hunters North America, Metroid re-release. I'm sorry, Metroid Europe, Super Metroid North America and Europe, Metroid Samus Returns, and then non-Japanese Metroid Prime 3.
I think I'll put it between Hunters and Metroid Europe. I think that's where I'll put it.
Okay. All right.
You know,
I have a notepad on the screen so I can keep track. Okay.
awesome.
So that's where you have that. My thoughts. On one hand, love the I really like this one, not gonna lie. I love the pose. Another classic Zero Mission pose. The art style looks really sick. I love the Chozo destroyed like border almost. Like you can see some like statue heads and like destroyed rubble and like brickwork and whatnot. I think
those are actually sprites from in game.
Really? Oh yeah, they actually do. Yeah, it looks just like a backdrop from in game. I love how that's the border of it. The red and black. Love that. I like the Metroids and how they're placed. It kind of gives me like Grindhouse vibes almost, Death Race kind of stuff. My only biggest gripe is like the James Bond profile silhouette of Samus. It just does not. I think it's so out of place. I get why they do it. Obviously, the Zero Suit aspect of the game is a big selling point and like a big part of the update to the game. But it doesn't really do anything for me. I would have rather them put like Ridley or Kraid or something in there. I like what they were going for, and I do think like it kind of matched the aesthetic, but I'm not a huge fan of it. But everything else I really like. I think this is an A tier for me. I'm gonna put it right. I'm actually gonna put it in A tier between Other M and Metroid 2.
Okay.
I really like it. I only have one gripe about it, really. I think just the red and black. It's just there's so much style with Zero Mission that really it pops. It looks bold. It's so good. I love it. So yeah, and I love the Metroid Zero Mission logo. The contrast there.
Oh yeah, it's actually based off of that Japanese logo we were looking at earlier.
Yes. I love that. I love the color. I love the blue and yellow of Zero Mission in the contrast of the red and black of like the style outside of that. Really like that. Okay, so A tier for me, B tier for you. Now our true second to last, the North American box art for Metroid Prime 2. So the North American and European version of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I'll throw it to you. What do you think?
This is so first off, I like this art. I feel like I've grown to appreciate this art more over the years. But that being said, it's not perfect. There's a lot of like I like the theming of it. I like the light versus dark. I like how you have Samus kind of splitting the two apart.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I like how you have the Luminoth representing the light, the Ing representing the dark. But then you also have a bunch of other random elements, like you have elements of Samus's HUD just kind of overlaid on there, and I think for that Japanese Metroid Prime art, I think it adds to it, but here I think it takes away from the theming of this. But then on the other hand, you also have other cool stylistic choices, like again, not on here, but you have another cool glistened embossed effect that's on the North American cover, which looks, especially for that silver Prime 2 logo, absolutely sick. And I love that black kind of logo. I kind of wish it had the screw attack in the background still. I kind of wish they didn't remove that. But at the same time, I
kind of like that it's not there.
Art, yeah. I think as a piece of art, I would have rathered it. But I think for the box art, I think it works better without that. Especially because that line divide, Samus acts as the line divide in the overall art piece.
Yes.
Yeah,
which is what she is in the game, pretty much too.
Yeah. So overall, I still like this art. I like the theming of it. I think with some subtle changes, this could be an A tier for me. I'm gonna put it in B tier though, a sandwich between Zero Mission Japan and Metroid NES European.
Okay. I was writing that in my area, but B tier. Sorry, between what?
Zero Mission Japan and Metroid NES Europe.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah. So again, I mean, there's something about this box art that I really love, and maybe it's just nostalgia. Like, I have so many fond memories of like looking forward to Metroid Prime 2, and like this box art, just like can't forget it. Really, really like it. What I really love about this, first of all, I mean, the logo, and the same for the Dark Echoes logo for the Japanese version too. But this might actually be my favorite Metroid Prime logo. I love the Echo style. I love the dark gray, like the black with gray, like style is so good. I love the Black Echoes font with the blue glow. Samus, like you said, has that highlight around her. My favorite thing about this is the ing at the bottom right. I don't know, but like the ing up close, when you get to see it up close, like the visceral, like the eye, like the shine on the eye, you can see it's like flesh, like and like it's like insecty bug like flesh on it. Like, it's
One other thing I didn't
so
point out
alien.
is one other thing I didn't point out, and this kind of plays into that as well, but that divide between the light and the dark side of the box art, it's not equal. There's a lot more of that dark side
Yep.
overtaking, which I absolutely love. Like, that's such a cool little
Yep.
piece of theming that just conveys more of the game to you.
And I like that it's not just like divided. It's like the light is trying to like fight against the dark. It's not a clean
Yeah.
break. You can see it's not even. You can see how it like meshes together. I love the juxtaposition of the Luminoth on the top left, Samus, and then the Ing on the bottom right. You know, I kind of agree with the HUD stuff. I do like the reticle, like the X-ray visor, like reticle kind of thing. I don't think the random like missile counter on the right or whatever that is, like as part of the HUD, is really necessary. And you could even see like the arm cannon switch, but it's kind of interesting because it's really the only time you see in-game like UI or like HUD elements show up on the box art. It's really kind of unique. I always thought her pose. There's something about Samus's pose here that like it's weird, but like in a good way. I don't know. It's like
It looks like she's in the process of a diving shot almost, but her bottom leg is like stuck out a little more than you would expect.
see to me, she looks like she's doing like a fadeaway shot almost, kind of like.
Yeah, like she's falling away kind of, yeah.
And in this case, I don't like it like when it doesn't make sense for Samus to be like standing in the void of space or whatever. But here, where she's in a void, it makes so much sense. It almost feels like she's kind of firing like within that void, in between dimensions, kind of. I love, 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 love this box art. I would put it at the bottom of Omega for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I respect it though. I respect it.
Yeah. I really like
for
this
me-
one.
Yeah, this would be an easy A for me. It's just those HUD elements, they just feel a little out of place for me. I think if you remove and like there is artwork out there. I think Metroid Recon, they have like a really clean break of like the art itself without the logo, without the HUD elements. It's just there and it looks chef's kiss.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where it doesn't detract from me, but if it wasn't there, I wouldn't be bothered. I kind of like that there's like a lot going on. It makes it like feel chaotic, like it's stressful, which is kind of what the game is about. It's very much like there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety in the game. I feel like it matches that perfectly. So I really like this one. Okay. Now, for the finale, everybody, this is the one you've all been waiting for this entire time. It is
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
the Japanese box art for Metroid Prime Hunters. So if you've never seen this one before, which you might not have, if I can find...
Oh, they've seen it before. They've seen it before, Dak. I'm sure everyone's used PowerPoint at least once here. They've seen it.
So it is, obviously for the DS, you have Samus in an action pose, kind of like hunched down with her gun right behind her, like ready to pounce or strike or fire. You have the Metroid Prime Hunters logo on the bottom right. And then in the background, you have a red background with Metroid Prime Hunters like in a grayish gradient flat font in the background. It's cut off. If the logo wasn't there, you wouldn't be able to really make out the entirety of the text in the back. And then you have some text at the bottom. You have like a little globe, which obviously shows it has Wi-Fi capability to play online. You can even kind of see Samus's eyes through the visor a little bit. I'm debating on whether or not I should tell my opinion first or you should tell yours, and I almost feel like I need to say mine first.
I think you should go first. You go first.
I really like this box art. I really like it. It's just different. It's trying something different. It's trying something new. It's not Samus standing out in space. I love the pose. It gives me this like magazine spread feel to it. Which I think you could argue, okay, it doesn't make good for a good box art. Maybe it looks good on a magazine, but like, I don't know. There's something about it. It just gives me like this big, like in your face, which is very much what the game is to me. Like very in your face, straight to the point. I kind of love how Samus is like obscuring the text in the background. I don't know what it is. I can't really wrap my mind about what I really like about it aside from what I just said, but I really, really, really like it. And I love that it's different. It's trying something different. I don't know. It's in your face. I love Samus's pose. I love how big Samus's is on the box art. Like she takes up like almost the entire thing, which I think is really cool. I'm not going to put it in Omega. I'm going to put it above the other M Japanese box arts, but below Trilogy. So it's going to be right in the middle of A for me. It's one of my favorite box arts in the Metroid series. I know I believe the only person that thinks that in, I think, our community and maybe the entire Metroid community. I really like it. I love that it's different. I love that it's trying something different and it looks cool. It's effective to me. I really like it. I think it's much better than the, maybe not much better, but just something about it just catches my eye. I love it. A tier for me. What do you got?
So before I get into it, I do want to say I love the pose. For like the pose, actually probably my favorite piece of Samus artwork out there. I was talking about earlier how that Prime 2 Various suit is my personal favorite, and obviously the Final Hunters design uses that Various suit. I love the contrast of the visor. I think it's like that perfect neon green. I love the pose that Samus is in. It's one of my favorites. Like if I'm referencing Samus, this is usually one of my go-tos. I absolutely love the artwork. That's about the only positive I have to say about this artwork. This box art is like peak graphic design is my passion tier artwork. Everything about it is just so goofy, weird, out of play. I respect your opinion, but I'd be lying if I said I understood it. I think especially the thing that does it for me, it's the random Metroid Prime Hunters lettering in the background. Like,
I love that.
You already I know you do. But, like, you already got the logo in front. Why do you have, like, the background just randomly say, Metroid Prime Hunter, Metroid Prime Hunter, like, it's just... Everything about it is so... Like, it definitely looks different, but I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I think...
Fair enough. Where do you put it? Where do you drop it on the list?
This is going in the middle of D tier for me. This is being sandwiched. This is being sandwiched between North American Federation Force and Prime Pinball Japan. So...
Okay. Well, you know what? I respect your opinion.
I like the pose.
Maybe it's just the magazine like spread cover to me is just doing something for me. Like I like that it has the Metroid Prime Hunters in the back being obscured. I don't know. There's something about it. I love it. But okay, I anticipated that. I'm sure if Andy was here, he'd probably agree with you. Graphic design is my passion. Well, hey, it's my passion. I love it, and that's what I like. I like that logo. I like that. Well, first of all, before we wrap this up, I'm going to go through the tier list. But I think this is one of our longest episodes. I'm looking at the recording right now. We're at 2 hours and over 17, 18 minutes right now. So if y'all were
getting up there,
we're getting there. It's definitely going to be one of our longest episodes. Let me go through our tier list. And now everyone, again, will have the template in the description so you can make your own, follow along. I will I'll either edit this one or I'll make a new one with the 2 other box arts that I missed.
Yeah, tell us your thoughts on the Japanese Prime Hunters cover in the comments.
Yes. Let us know what you think about all these box arts. But let's quickly wrap up all of our picks here. So, in my Omega tier, I have the best Metroid box art to me, Metroid Zero Mission. I love that one. Next,
good pick.
Japanese Super Metroid, fantastic. After that, Japanese Metroid Fusion, fantastic. After that, Japanese Metroid Prime 2, amazing. And then finally, the original Metroid Prime. You have a pretty similar one. You have at the top, Metroid Prime 2 Dark Echoes. You have the Japanese Metroid Fusion. Then you have Metroid Dread, jumping into the Omega tier, followed by Zero Mission North America, Japanese Super Metroid, and then a very, very surprising Metroid Prime Hunters First Hunt at Omega tier. I don't think anyone would have seen that coming. I certainly didn't. In the A tier, we have North American Super Metroid. Oh, for me, North American Super Metroid, Metroid Dread, Metroid Prime Trilogy, Metroid Prime Hunters Japan, Other M Japan, Metroid 2 Return of Samus North America, or just all of them, Metroid Samus Returns, Metroid Prime Remastered, and then Metroid Prime Pinball. For your A tier, you have Metroid 2 Samus Returns, Japanese Nestroid Trilogy, Japanese Federation Force, a very high pick for that one, Japanese Other M, both of them.
Like that was the real underdog pick right there.
That is
the Federation Force.
That one I didn't. At first hunt, I'm like, okay, I can see it, but Federation Force in A tier, crazy. Yeah, so Metroid 2, Japanese Metroid, Japanese or Trilogy, Japanese Federation Force, Japanese Other M, Metroid Prime Remastered, and then Metroid Prime Pinball. Our B tiers, I have Metroid Prime Hunters NA, Metroid Fusion NA, Japanese Metroid Prime Remastered, Japanese Metroid Prime Original, European Nestroid, North America PAL, Metroid Other M, Japanese Federation Force, and Metroid Prime Hunters First Hunt. For your B tier, you have Metroid Prime Original, Metroid Prime Japanese Original, Metroid Prime Hunters, Metroid Europe, NES-Troid, the Super Metroid North America and PAL, Samus Returns, and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption North America PAL. For C tier, we have, for me, Japanese Pinball, Serial Box re-released Metroid NES, North America PAL Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Japanese Metroid Prime 3, Original or North America PAL Metroid Prime Federation Force. Your C tier looks like Original Metroid, NA, Other M, Japanese Corruption, re-released Metroid Serial Box, Japanese remastered Metroid Prime, and NA PAL Metroid Fusion. And then finally, for D tier, I have the original Metroid NES, North America PAL version, and you have the Japanese Metroid Prime Pinball, Japanese Metroid Prime Hunters, and North America EU Metroid Prime Federation Force. And then the 2 we missed, Zero Mission Japan was A tier for me, Prime 2 NA was Omega for me. For you, Zero Mission Japan was B tier, and Prime 2 NA was also B tier. And that, my friends and folks and hunters out there, is our Metroid box art ranking. Not definitive, but my ranking and Doom's ranking.
But now it's your turn to rank it, folks.
It's your turn. I did not expect this to be such an undertaking. We're literally at almost 2.5 hours, but there are a lot of box arts we left out a couple too.
Yeah. Know your thoughts about the Samus Returns Legacy Edition and the Metroid Dread Special Edition as well. We didn't cover those. I'm a big fan of both of those box arts personally.
Yeah, not going to dive into those too much, but I also agree. Really like them. I actually really like the Samus Returns Legacy Edition.
Same here. I love it. I'm a big, in case you couldn't tell, I'm a big fan of like close-up shots of Samus's helmet.
But what I love about the Metroid Dread Special Edition, it reminds me of the Batman Arkham cover, that white version of that.
Yeah, the Arkham City cover. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it reminds me of. And I really like that as well. In fact, I have multiple copies of the Special Edition. That's how much I like it. So I really like those too.
Same
okay.
Here.
Well, wow, that was a doozy. For anyone who is still listening to this episode, has gone through our entire ranking, thank you so much for sticking with us. And please let us know What did you think about our rankings? Were we right? Were we wrong? Did we have some games that you were surprised were in a particular spot? Were there some games that were not ranked as far as you were concerned properly? And what did you think about the differences between our two tier lists and how they panned out? What's your favorite box art? What's your least favorite? At the moment, we both really like Zero Mission and Metroid Prime 2 and Fusion. Those are guaranteed
Super
at the top.
Metroid.
And Super Metroid. Those are right at the top there. The Japanese Super Metroid right at the top. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. But I would love to see what some people have thoughts on, especially for the more polarizing box art pieces, so to speak. At that point, I feel like I have exhausted all thoughts on this subject at the moment. But as I said, I personally did this off the top of my head. I know Doom, you had it pre-written, but you did make some changes. And I'm sure if we did this on another day, I'd maybe feel a little different in some ways. But
oh yeah,
I think this is pretty spot on for how I feel about it, because if you look at my tier list, and even yours too, a majority of the box arts are in the top 3 tiers. They're either an Omega, A, or B. For me, I only have 7 in C and D, and you only have 8. So as far as I'm concerned, majority of the box arts are pretty good, decent to very good. And I think you would say the same thing.
Yeah, and I think aside from my my Omega and D tiers, I feel like a lot of these could also be interchangeable depending on my mood or the arguments that I hear for and against it.
Yeah, I mean, you made some good arguments that compelled me in one way or another, so and vice versa. But all right, Doom, any final words to wrap this up here on this box art ranking special?
I'm happy we finally got around to doing this. I've wanted, we've had box art debates specifically with that Hunter's Japanese box art. We've had so many debates in the Discord. I've always said, like, man, this is like ripe for a podcast episode, and we finally got around to doing it.
Yes,
I had a lot of fun.
I wanted to hear what Andy had to say, so maybe one day in the far future, we do a definitive ranking, maybe, or maybe we have Andy come in and give his thoughts. It's probably a better idea that we didn't have all 3 of us, because it would have taken like 5 hours for all of us to give our opinions on all 32 box art or whatever.
Turn into a Hideo Kojima episode.
Yeah, that's going to be a doozy. Well, on my end, I'm glad we did this as well. I love talking about the box arts. I mean, Metroid has such good artwork and such good box arts. There are so many different kinds of styles. Maybe a bit too much of Samus standing in the void of space for me, but whatever. Some sleeper hits. Some games that have box arts better than the game itself. Some games that the box art doesn't live up to expectations, like Metroid Prime 3. Yeah, a lot of good ones. I am glad we did this, and I will fix the templates. That way, if y'all want to do this on your own, it'll have all of the logos and all the box arts. For us here at the Omega Metroid team, thank you all so much for checking out the Omega Metroid podcast and our ranking. Not definitive, but rankings of the Metroid box arts. You can find us on OmegaMetroid.com, on Twitter. We're now on Instagram and Threads, if you want to check us out there. We're on YouTube. Check us out, of course, on all your favorite podcast platforms. I'm sure you're listening to it right now on that. Yeah, Doom, I don't know what else to say. I think we've said all we can really say at the moment on this subject. What do you think?
I think you need a drink of water. Like, you've been talking for a while now.
Did I talk too much on this episode?
No. No. I thought you did great. I meant for like the end where you were listing off like all the games and whatnot. Like,
yeah. I definitely am like, ooh, been talking for 2.5, 3 hours right now. I'm ready to wrap it up, and I'm sure all of you are as well. So without further ado, let's do that. Thank you all so much for checking us out here at the Omega Metroid podcast. We love having you listen and enjoying the show. We love putting on the show for you all, as we do every single week. Your favorite weekly Omega Metroid podcast, your favorite weekly Metroid podcast is Omega Metroid podcast. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week on the show. We'll see you then.